Buckle up, boys. Time to go to work.
Park City Pizza Hut. How can I help you?
Hello, Pizza Hut. It is me, Tim Grover, close personal friend and trainer of Michael Jordan, arch nemesis to your hometown Utah Jazz.
Do you want a pizza?
Oh, yes, right. That's why I called. It's for Michael Jeffrey Jordan, the greatest basketball talent we've ever seen. And again, facing your hometown team in the NBA Finals tomorrow.
Yeah.
Please deliver this with 5 of your closest friends at your earliest convenience. Thank you. Good day.
It's not like Mike got on the phone and went, yeah, I'm in room 722 under Engelbert Humperdinck. 5 guys came, delivered a pizza, right? And I got sick from the pizza, right?
Broadcasting from the Mercedes Man Cave.
Okay.
This is Dan Patrick.
Oh, it's the gift that keeps on giving. Michael Jordan and The Last Dance. Oh, we got drama. We got former teammates backstabbing, calling Mike a snitch. Michael Wilbon from Pardon the Interruption gets involved. He backs up Scottie Pippen. In the process, does he say something disparaging about LeBron James? Welcome to the program. Already in progress, Paulie and I spent the last 15 minutes just talking about the greatness of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar because we have, there's a coronation here of Michael Jordan, and it's just a re-coronation. It's almost like I got married twice. I got married and then I went to Vegas with my wife and surprised her. I got married at the Elvis Chapel. So, I renewed my vows with my wife. I think that's what we did here with Michael Jordan. We renewed our vows. We love you, Michael, so much. Let's renew our vows here. 10 parts. It's going to take 10 parts for us to renew our vows here with Michael Jordan. But now, all of a sudden, there's some things that trickle out, of course. It's going to be Pizzagate now, Pizza Hut Gate. And now the delivery guy says that this is BS. And, was Michael making this up? Why now? Why did it come out? You had the flu game, and it felt like it was there. It was firmly entrenched in his history, the archives. And then it became the food poisoning game. And then now, all of a sudden, we got some people who are disputing that, including the delivery guy. Have that for you coming up. And then Horace Grant. Horace Grant, former teammate. He goes on ESPN Chicago, Cap and Company podcast. And he talks about how much of The Last Dance was actually not true. Here's Horace Grant.
90% of it was, I don't know if I can say it on air, but BS in terms of the realness of it. As I stated the other day, that it wasn't real because a lot of things that he said to some of his teammates went back at him, but all of that was kind of edited out of the documentary, if you want to call it a documentary.
Okay, so Horace Grant, a former Jordan teammate, won some titles, I think 3 titles, then went to Orlando. And Michael says that Horace was the snitch. He was the source for Sam Smith's book, Behind the Scenes, The Jordan Rules. And Horace said that that's not the case. And then Horace doubled down on it and said that he's not the snitch. Michael's the snitch.
He said, I was a snitch. But yet and still, after 30 or 35 years, he brings up his rookie year going into one of his teammates' room and seeing coke and weed and women. My point is, why in the hell did he want to bring that up? What's that got to do with anything? If you want to call somebody a snitch, that's a damn snitch right there.
All righty, shots fired here. He is right about Jordan talking about his rookie year that has nothing to do with the last year, the last dance here with the Chicago Bulls. It makes Michael look better. And, he's saying things about teammates and calling them out that what was going. I'm sure if Michael's teammates were going to do the same to him, they probably have some stories with Michael. But they didn't want to. But Mike calls out some teammates for whatever was happening his rookie year. Then you had Michael Wilbon on Pardon the Interruption. And he wants to come to the defense of Scottie Pippen. And Wilbon said this last night on Pardon the Interruption.
I'm tired of everybody taking shots at Scottie Pippen because last I checked, he's got twice as many rings as LeBron.
It's just me. I'm the only one who does.
No, apparently not, because you quoted LeBron. And LeBron, if that was a shot, I would just say one guy has twice as many rings as the other guy. I would just point that out.
Okay. Not a good moment for Wilbon. That's some Chicago pride there from Wilbon sticking up for Scottie Pippen. It's one thing to stick up for Scottie and remind people he has 6 rings, and he was a great wingman here. Did all the things that you would want from a wingman. But if you're going to compare Scottie to LeBron just because he's got twice as many rings, that's not a good argument, Mike. It's just not. Scottie is not better than LeBron James. And Michael knows that too. But, if LeBron played with Michael, golly, how do we get LeBron into these arguments? That's what we need to do. If Michael played with LeBron, how many titles would they win? I don't know. But LeBron's a better player than Scottie Pippen. He is. And that got us, I know. Breaking news.
Gutsy.
Yeah, going out on a limb there. Woo, that's a hot take. And then Paulie and I started talking, and I said, if this is about rings, if it's always about rings, then Bill Russell is the greatest player of all time. Like, we want to sort of manipulate the narrative, as the kids like to say. Oh, well, Michael's got to be the greatest because of the way he played. Okay, it's the modern era, and we know Michael's successful on and off the court. Bill Russell did everything you want in a star player. He did everything. He won in college. He won in the Olympics. He won in the pros. He won, 8 straight? He won 11 titles. Okay, so what's the argument? He wasn't as excited. He wasn't polished offensively. He couldn't play in today's game. So we keep changing the goal line. We move the goal line here. Is it playing ability? Is it resume? And that's where I come back to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. To me, if I look at everything he accomplished, is the greatest player of all time. Okay? Greatest basketball player of all time. There's no marketing here. He didn't have, signature shoe. He didn't have any, great nickname. Nothing. Kareem, 3 for 3 in college. He couldn't play his freshman year, or he would have gone 4 for 4. He was most valuable player all 3 years. In winning the championship, player of the year, most outstanding player in the Final Four. Can't do better than that. Nope. Somehow he wasn't the greatest college basketball player. Michael Jordan was. You got 6 titles here. He won 6 MVPs. He was an all-star 19 times. And you forget about how great, yes, all-time leading scorer. He was first team all defense, I think 5 times. If Kareem was, let's say, 5 or 6 years younger, then maybe we would have seen him in prime time, in his prime, and that would have been a little bit different there. But to me, if you said, I'm going to combine everything here, then the package is Michael Jordan, because that's easy to understand. Oh, we like him. Be like Mike. You go 6 for 6, okay. If Michael goes 4 and 2, he's not the best basketball player of all time, folks. He will be in the conversation, but he wouldn't be considered the greatest player of all time. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is the greatest basketball player of all time. If I can look at high school, college, pros, Kareem is the greatest player of all time. Now you say, he had to have magic to Scottie. If Mike doesn't have Scottie, according to Mike, he doesn't win these titles. So you can't say, Kareem needed help. He had Oscar later in Oscar's career, and they won a title. Look at that Bucks team. Not a great team, but they had Kareem. Lou Alcindor at the time. But we get caught up in the rings, and then all of a sudden we go, well, wait a minute. Robert Horry won 7. Steve Kerr won 5 or 6. No, then it gets into a silly argument there. This is about great players, and if you're going to say the bottom line is how many championships, okay. Now, I use that more with a quarterback than I do, other teams, other sports. Like, is Barry Bonds somehow not one of the great players of all time because he didn't win anything? Apparently, if you use that logic there. I just think it's dangerous to do that, to say, Dan Marino never won. We can look at quarterbacks who won Super Bowls. You can't sit here and tell me that Bob Greasy and Bart Starr were better than Dan Marino. Not. Oh, they won Super Bowl. Okay, they won Super Bowls. Michael won 6 rings. He went 6-0. Is he spectacular? Great. Did he do everything you wanted him to do? Need to do? Yes, he did all of those things. But when we start to go, well, Scotty's got twice as many rings as Scotty. All right. Let Scotty play with the Cleveland Cavaliers and tell me how he does. Does he take the team to the finals? Do they come back from 3-1? Even if he goes to Miami, are they winning those titles with Scotty there with Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh? Maybe. I mean, that's the fun part of the argument. But when, it feels like, here's my trump card, he's got more titles than you. Kobe, to me, is equal to Michael Jordan. And I know that's blasphemous to say, but folks, I saw him play, both of them. If I'm just looking at basketball ability, Kobe is equal to Michael. He is. I know we don't want to admit it. Offensively, he is what Michael was. And maybe then some. Michael was a better all-around player because he was a great, great defensive player. But when we come to rings and then it's Bill Russell, yeah, but you can't be Bill Russell. And then all of a sudden you're going, oh, okay, let's take Bill Russell out of the equation because he just played for a great team and a great coach and had a fellow Hall of Famers, and he's not involved in this. No, that's what we were talking about prior to the show. And I still think Kareem, if it's possible to be underrated, is underrated. Even his college years, I didn't get to see many games on TV. Like we missed everything with Kareem. And yeah, you can point out that Magic stepped in the Sixers series, played center, and ended up being the MVP, and they beat the 76ers. You can make all those arguments. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is the greatest basketball player of all time. Michael Jordan is the most celebrated player of all time, and rightfully so. I understand it. We're all about packaging things, your brand, marketing. Jordan is still marketing. He marketed himself. This was his comeback. The fact that you have players who wear his logo is the true testament. I mean, here's LeBron with Michael Jordan's logo on his shoe. I get it. I understand it. And this reinforced the Michael greatness on us who saw it. And he introduced himself to a whole new generation. Brilliant marketing. Absolutely. All right. A few things to talk about today. We'll talk to Frank Reich, the Colts head coach, coming up a little bit. They brought in Phillip Rivers, and they say it's not a one-year deal. So we'll talk to Frank about that and opening up the facilities here. We'll check in with my Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tom Brady was out with some of his teammates throwing the football around. And we'll talk to Rick Stroud, who covers the Buccaneers for the Tampa Bay Times. And then Chip Kelly from UCLA, their head football coach, will join us. And the struggles that we might have with the Pac-12 of trying to play football at the same time as everybody else. 877-3DP Show. Email address dp@danpatrick.com. Twitter handle at DP Show. McLovin will have a poll question. Got a stat of the day, play of the day. All of that coming up. Ryan in Maryland joins us. Ryan, what's on your mind today?
Hey, what's going on, Dad?
Hey.
It's crazy. I was just on social media, had some friends that's big-time LeBron fans, and they kept on. Their angle was Jordan didn't do it by himself. And no, he didn't. I mean, he had other players, but my thing was Jordan made people – I mean, he had good players, but he made those good players great. His work ethic, the way he fell down and came back up, and who he eliminated from the playoffs makes him the greatest ever to me. And Kareem played against less athletic guys to me. I mean, compared to the Supersonics, to the Jazz, to the Pacers, I mean, those teams were most people, would have got eliminated, especially, in my opinion, I think LeBron would have never got a ring if they still had those squads that they had, like how they had around in the 90s. I mean, Jordan showed, you couldn't get a better resume than that in basketball.
All right. Well, thank you, Ryan. Once again, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is the greatest basketball player of all time. Michael is the most celebrated, best packaged player that we've ever seen. He did everything you want with a great player. You win, you're 6-0 in the NBA Finals. Can't argue with that. MVP. He did everything you wanted the ball in big situations, all of those things. Can't argue with any of that. It's just, if we're basing this off rings, are we basing this off ability? Now I got somebody, Ryan's telling me, well, Kareem didn't play against anybody. He could only play against who he was out there on the floor with. Did he have a time machine where he's like, these guys aren't any good. Can I get somebody in here? Can you bring in Kevin Durant from the future? Can you bring in Shaq from the future, please? He did what he had to do against the players he was playing against. I can't hold that against him. And you forget how celebrated Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was in high school. This was he had a press conference that was covered nationally back then when nobody was doing that. And then went to UCLA. The freshman team he was on beat the varsity that won the national championship. And then he goes into the pros, and he was great right away. Won a title for Milwaukee. And then went to the Lakers. He's the all-time leading scorer. I just think people forget about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And it's almost like conveniently forgetting about him. And I don't know why I'm so sensitive to it. I mean, I've had Kareem on, but it's also something that I witnessed. I got to witness Jordan, but Kareem came before Mike. And maybe I'm a little defensive about what I grew up on. But I don't want people to forget, and that's why I bring up players. I brought up Rick Barry the other day. Rick Barry was a badass, man. He was a great competitive player, won a title with Golden State, and we forget about it because that was a long time ago. It wasn't the TV era. And I think that's the sad part of all of this. And that's why I got so upset about ESPN's college basketball poll. It's not even close. It was laughable that Michael was the best player of all time in college. And Michael's not voting on this. There's no way Michael could say I'm the best college player of all time. I mean, I'd love it if they ask him on The Last Dance, hey, do you think you're the best college player of all time? Who do you think is? Call the director, Paulie. Call Jason Hare and ask him.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, sure. This program brought to you by Traeger. They want to help you make this summer the tastiest one ever. The real wood-fired flavor, next level versatility. Traeger Grill's the ultimate way to cook. Contact your local dealer. Visit TraegerGrills.com/DP show to get yours today. And I don't want to do what Wilbon did, where you end up trying to help Scottie Pippen, compliment Scottie Pippen, but then you say something negative about LeBron James. And maybe Mike was upset about LeBron saying, hey, I would have been an upgrade over Scottie. He would have been a different upgrade than Scottie. He would have done other things. Scottie was the best defensive player on that team, in my opinion. Scottie was unbelievable as a defensive player. He wasn't he couldn't create his shot, but he was great in transition. He did what you wanted him to do. All of those things. Can't argue with any of that. But he's not LeBron James. Yeah, Paul.
I was just looking at some of Kareem's stats, and again, his second half of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's career, his stats are nice, but they're not the first half. But at age 40 years old, he played 80 games, 30 minutes a game. Just that, without even the stats. 80 games at age 40, 30 minutes a game. And a guy who's 7'2", who usually have leg problems in his career, no, he didn't miss. He played 79 or more games 5 of his last 6 years. At age 40, he averaged 15.7 rebounds and 2 blocks.
Yeah.
And that's the downside years.
Yeah. All righty.
You good?
Yeah. I hate when we forget about yesterday, that everything is great, better now. And it's not. It has to be put in perspective there. And that's all. I just sometimes I need to bring up somebody that you forgot about. That's my name, Danny Perspective. It's my new name, Danny. Oh, the Danettes are here too. Fritzy, McLevin, Seaton, Paulie. Oh, sorry. I didn't even know you guys were here. I apologize. Got off on a rant there and went to town. We'll come up with a poll question here. We'll have a play of the day, stat of the day. We'll check in with Frank Reich, the Colts head coach. We'll talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Tom Brady, and it didn't take long before it feels like Patriot fans are turning on Tom Brady. Yep, believe it or not. 20 after the hour, just getting started, hour one on this Wednesday. Dan and the Danettes, Dan Patrick Show. You're checking your email, checking your phone, checking your Instagram. Check something important, your credit. Discover makes it quick and easy. Best of all, it's free. Discover is now offering FICO credit scores, the score used by 90% of top lenders, and doing so for free. Even if you're not a customer, checking your score won't hurt your credit, and you can check each month for changes. The Discover Credit Scorecard, free for everyone. You can learn more at discover.com/credit scorecard. Discover.com/credit scorecard, and once again, limitations do apply. Okay, I'm handing this to Twitter. I'm handing this to this audience, and I'm going to apologize. I should apologize up front, but you're going to be spending time with this later today, and we appreciate it when you send us some tweets when the show is over.
And who's Reese Witherspoon? She's like really big lately, hanging out with Oprah and everything. That Big Little Liars, whatever.
Mm-hmm. I don't know who Reese is.
Is she a Nick Foles type? No, it doesn't make sense.
Well, who's Carson Wentz?
Kind of like Kate Blanchett. She's European. He's 1AA. It's similar. Think about it.
Yeah, but Kate Blanchett has been in a lot of movies.
Yes. Carson Wentz is on his way, though.
Yeah.
She also was injured earlier in her career.
Yeah, I don't know if any. Did she have a knee injury?
I heard.
Yeah, that's what we. Yeah, we're onto something here. What it is, I'm not exactly sure, but we're onto something here.
Frances McDormand is sort of a
Frances
Flacco
McDormand. No, she's got to be somebody.
Try to go.
No, because Flacco has no personality like that. Yeah. Frances McDormand's got personality. Yeah, McLovin.
This is all an effort to get away from the fact that you cried at Runaway Bride.
I know. I'm trying to distance myself here. Yes.
So Kirk Cousins, sort of the Margot Robbie.
Has the internet started to weigh in here?
Paid? No, I'm looking at odds to win the Best Actress award. Margot Robbie, she's on her way up. Kirk Cousins, not really sure if she's great though, but she's gonna get paid off this. Right. Kirk Cousins.
Margot Robbie, 2 really good movies. Was she Wall Street? Wolf of Wall Street, and then this movie, I, Tonya? Yeah, maybe.
Not really sure.
Yeah.
Has some great moments.
Oh, she was that bad guy superhero that she got a lot of attention for in the Batman movies.
Oh, she was awesome in that.
Yeah, she got a lot of. What the heck is that? Her name?
I never saw any of those movies.
The Suicide Squad. I think.
Is that what it was?
The movie.
Yeah. Yeah,
that was
Paul.
a good
Oh,
movie.
yeah.
Somebody sent in Eli Manning is Joan Cusack, more famous older brother. Very good career. Joan Cusack's good.
I think Joan Cusack steals every
all
movie
the respect
she's
in the
That's
world.
what we're saying. Underrated.
Joan Cusack.
John gets all the pub and all the big...
Yeah, but nobody goes, boy, Eli Manning he's awesome. Now, they might say he's underrated. Does anybody say he's underrated? I don't think so. But I do like the famous older brother.
There you go.
That's a good line there. All right.
I told you before the show we'd work Joan Cusack into the show, remember?
I know. I said, I don't see how you're going to do it, Paulie.
Stick with us.
We've only got 3 hours, and you're able to do it.
We're lucky we stumbled upon this late in the show because could have gone wire to wire.
I just got this one. Steve sent this in. Hilary Swank and Eli Manning. 2 Oscars, 2 Super Bowl wins. Boom. There you go. Detonate. We'll settle on a poll question here. Got our play of the day coming up, stat of the day as well. We welcome in the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts, Frank Reich, who joins us on the program. Coach, good to have you on. We got to do something with the background there behind you. What's going on? You got nothing behind you.
You know, you had to call me out on that right away, didn't you? I was sitting there looking at your room, and I was going to say, how do I get one of those?
You got nothing. You look like you're in you're like a hospital room or something. I'm worried about you.
Fair point. And you know what, Dan? I actually even had some guys help me out and say, hey, give me all the do's and don'ts of Zoom protocol. And one of them is don't have a plain white background.
Well, mission accomplished. You did well. You didn't listen to them. If we had a throwing contest of head coaches right now, how do you think you'd fare?
I think I'd fare pretty well. Doug Peterson would certainly be up there. We'd throw it around a little bit when I was in Philadelphia. There's a few guys out there, but I still like getting the ball in my hand and throwing it around. I don't do it that much out of practice, but I like to stay in shape, and I like to have a football in my hands.
Cliff Kingsbury might be my pick there.
Well, that'd be a good pick. You know, he's a few years younger, but if it came down to accuracy, that's where if you're just talking distance,
yeah,
Dan, that's one thing. But we got to talk about accuracy. I think I got a chance in accuracy.
I see Harbaugh throwing around all the time. Like it feels like he's ready to play.
No doubt. And I think he's inspired us all to let us know it's okay to do that. You can still want to throw the ball around, and it's not like you're trying to reach back to your former career. You like being around it. I like throwing a ball.
I mentioned this yesterday. I didn't realize. I thought you still had the greatest comeback in college football history. I think you got knocked down to number 3 on that list. But the NFL comeback with the Bills is still the top comeback in football history, NFL history?
As far as I know, it is, yes.
Do you bring it up with your players?
I probably in 2 years and maybe brought it up once. Probably brought it up. I don't bring it up that often, but occasionally I think there's a time and a place for everything. And I try not to just be dogmatic and say, I'm never going to talk about this or I'm always going to talk about that. I think you got to be open and you got to play off your strengths. And my past playing career was something I bring to the table. So I'll strategically pull back into that.
Yeah, because if you're down at halftime or whatever it is, or in the fourth quarter, like you can draw upon this, and they have to trust you that, okay, I've been in this situation before, whether you bring it up or not. I mean, just that confidence level of saying we can do this, because you were down by over 30 points in those games in college and the NFL and ended up winning those. So I think that there would be a time and a place to bring that up to your team. Maybe Phillip Rivers doesn't need that, but Jacoby Brissett probably could have used something like that.
Well, you guys help us out, us former players who are coaches. You help us out, and we appreciate this in that, there's still so much that shows. I mean, that comeback game shows on air. It's talked about. It's brought up in all the sports talk stuff. So, and our players they're hearing all this stuff. So it actually gives you opportunity to bring up some of those things.
Where do you keep your Super Bowl ring from the Eagles?
It's in it's in a safe deposit box.
Have you brought it out to show the players?
I have not. We talk about, it's an interesting question, Dan, and I have Coach Peterson was gracious enough to get all the coaching staff a replica Lombardi trophy. And one of the things that I've talked to our players about is, man, the ring is awesome. It's awesome to hold that trophy, to kiss the trophy, take pictures with the trophy. But in my experience, what's even better than the trophy, what's better than the ring, what's better than the money that you get for winning that is looking your teammates in the eye and saying, we stinking did it. We are the best in the world. We are world champions. That's a shield that you wear the rest of your life. That's worth more than anything to me, to look at your teammates and know we wanted to climb the top of this mountain, and it's the hardest mountain to climb in sports, and we did it together.
I'm fired up, ready to run through a wall right now, Coach. That wall right behind you, that drywall.
It's a plain wall. We could probably break through it.
How about you just take the ring and just put it out on the table in the locker room first week and then just walk out?
Just the drop off, right? Like
yeah,
the mic.
like drop the mic. I think that'd be great. He's
Well,
he's
excuse me. It was hard for me to want to bring out the one ring I had when I had Adam Vinatieri sitting in there, and got like 10 of them.
He's Frank Reich, the Colts head coach, joining us. Is Adam still playing?
He's rehabbing, and then we're in a wait and see mode.
Okay,
we're waiting to see how the rehab goes, see where it's all at. But yeah, we're in that wait and see mode.
Are you still a pastor?
Yeah, I'm still ordained. I still am ordained, and still I will officiate a wedding here and there. In fact, I'm officiating a wedding this summer of one of our coaches, one of our young coaches who we've become very close. So I still enjoying. I probably do officiate one wedding every 2 or 3 years. I really enjoy doing that. It's a lot of fun.
What if one of your players asked you?
I would absolutely do it.
What's the charge on that, though, Coach?
No charge.
Oh, no charge.
Actually, I shouldn't say that. Actually, I hope you wouldn't mind me saying this, but when Andrew got married, I didn't officiate the wedding, but I had to, because he got married out of the country, Chris Ballard and I actually served as witnesses, and I had to sign a document here back in the States. It had to be signed by an ordained minister, and I signed that document. So that's a real privilege.
Do you think Andrew would want to be a coach, assistant coach? Andrew Luck, we're talking about.
Yeah, that's a fair question. I mean, obviously, you'd have to ask him. I mean, just the time I've spent with him, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. He's a unique guy, and I love him. I really got very close with him. Still close to him to this day. We still talk. Obviously, even though he's retired, but he's going to be great at whatever he does next.
Did you try to talk him out of that decision?
No, that's a decision. No, not even thought, never even crossed my mind. I know that would be foolish to try to do that. That's a decision that's got to come from here. And, any attempts to do that would be vain conceit by me to think that I could actually do that.
Yeah.
That would be foolish, I think.
Phillip Rivers, you bring him in. I know it's a one-year deal, but I see reports that, it's one, and then how does Phillip feel after 1 year? Is that fair assessment of the future at quarterbacking position?
Yeah, it's absolutely fair assessment. And, we have all the respect in the world for him, and he's had an unbelievable career. And we know he's 38 years old, going to turn 39 during this season. So it's number one, how does he feel? But, he knows this. It's number two is how does he perform? And of course, we think he's going to perform lights out, which is why why we sign him and why we're paying him the money that we're paying him. I know him very, very well. I know his body movements. I know his arm strength. I know his arm motion, that unique arm motion that he has. And as I watched his film from the last couple of years, I've seen no diminishing skills physically. So we're very excited about having him as our quarterback this year.
Do you know how many kids Phillip has?
It's hard to keep count.
Okay.
I think he's had a couple more, but he's got 9. There's 11 in the family, and all 9 children. And everything you see and hear about Phillip, right, in that regard about family, it's all true. I mean, it's fun. In San Diego when we were together, I was at his house with his family, with his children, playing in the backyard, playing football in the backyard with his kids. It's a family first mentality there. It's fun to be around.
I had Mike Vrabel on recently, and I said, did you guys do a drive-by on Tom Brady? And he said, yeah, we looked at everybody here. How close did you get to, interest in Tom Brady?
Yeah, it was the same thing. We looked at everybody. That's our job. I mean, and Chris Ballard, I thought, did a phenomenal job. And he and I, especially at every position, but at the quarterback position. And, we, like we've said from the beginning, we love Jacoby Brissett. So we looked at every option. We talked through every option. And we thought Phillip Rivers was a guy for us. It was a unique connection that myself and Nick Sirianni and Jason Michael we've all coached with Phillip before. We knew Phillip knows our system. The language is still pretty much the same. There's a few things that have changed. Phillip was the right guy for us.
I love your draft. I Jonathan Taylor out of Wisconsin, but I love Michael Pittman. Michael Pittman just is a football player. And I don't know which one of those two do you feel like will be able to contribute more right away?
That's a great question. I mean, like history and stats would tell you it's a little bit harder for receivers to have an impact early on. But I think, and this is one of the reasons we like Michael. He's got a physical and emotional maturity about him that we think he can come in and make a more immediate impact than most receivers do. And so, and obviously we think Jonathan can come in and make a big impact as well. So we feel really good about both of them.
Yeah, I like Pittman a lot. I mean, Taylor at that size and has that speed, and you guys are a running attack. Maybe you didn't want to be as much of a running attack as you were last year, and that's why you're bringing in Phillip. But it's nice to, see Jonathan Taylor just sitting there for you. Yeah, how excited do you get when you see something like that, where you giggle like a schoolgirl?
Well, maybe not like a schoolgirl, but let me just tell you, I wake up with a lot of juice, and I think about our team, and I start visualizing what it's going to look like this fall, assuming we're playing and on time and all that fun stuff. But I'm excited, and I see in Pittman and Jonathan Taylor, and then you add guys like T.Y. Hilton and Marlon Mack and Jack Doyle and all the other playmate, and I see we're a very unselfish team. I see us spreading the ball around. I see us being dual threat, run and pass. I see us being a really good situational team on third down and in the red zone. I see our defense really taking another step. I'm really excited about, we get DeForest Buckner, adding to, Justin Houston, and an already good and a young defense. I mean, we are young on defense and just on the rise. So I see a good football team in my mind right now.
What do you know about the start of the season?
Not much. I mean, it's changed a couple times. So my mindset and our mindset when I talk to the team is, hey, we're assuming we're starting training camp on time. We're assuming we're playing all our normal schedule with fans in the stadium. We all know things could change or adapt. So we'll be ready for that. Just know players, that we as coaches have plans for all of that. We know how to adjust and adapt. I want the players to feel confidence, that, hey, no matter what they get thrown at them, we've thought about every scenario. We have schedules for everything. We've talked it through. Chris Ballard and I talk day and night about this stuff. And coaching staff. So we're ready, but our mindset is we're playing ball. Start week one.
And I also think it's beneficial. Phillip knows the system. He's worked with you and Nick, so he knows that system, and that's where you can hit the ground running. I'll leave you with this, Coach. You can see the guys that I have with me, my Danettes. Do you think Quentin Nelson could beat up all four of my guys at once?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Wait,
I would love to see. Now, this is a good-looking crew, but I would love to see them try to move Quentin off the spot. He just stand like when he used to play King of the Mountain, somebody stand on top of the hill. I have this visual right now, Quentin standing on top of the hill, and your team of guys right here trying to knock him off the hill. That's a pretty entertaining thought to me right now.
I had an NFL scout tell me prior to the draft. He said the best player in the draft is not going to be taken number one. And I said, who's that? He said, Quentin Nelson. And I said, so a guard is the best player in the draft. He said he's got the meanest streak. He's a Hall of Famer in waiting, and he will start right away. So when he went to the Colts, and I thought Andrew Luck has got somebody there who's going to protect him, and Quentin Nelson has lived up to those expectations. He's a throwback, it feels like, Coach.
He really is, and your words are exactly right, and he has lived up to those in every way, on and off the field, and his mentality is infectious. He's a leader. He's tough-minded. How can that be? That who would have ever thought that we could be saying that about a guard?
I know.
He's really one of these generational players that we're very fortunate to have.
All right, work on the backdrop there, okay? You look like you're being held hostage there.
I appreciate it. Well, I was just doing this so you would ask me back again so I could show you that I would make an improvement the next time.
Put like a Maryland banner up there or something, Coach. Have your kids scribble on the walls or something. I don't know. Man, I'm worried about you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Coach.
All right.
That's Frank Reich, Colts head coach. Looked like he's being held prisoner there. Got to work on that. But we got some memorabilia I can send out to Coach there. Get him something on the wall. And he was right about Quentin Nelson. I think it wouldn't take long before he wiped out the Danettes. Yeah, Paul.
Someone has to go in first on Quentin and try to take him out low.
That's you.
I would go low and try to distract him, and then hopefully the other guys could buzz around him.
Yeah, I don't like your chances.
No,
there.
I get taken out quick.
Yeah.
But it'd be over quickly.
All right, we'll take a break. Play of the day coming up. Settle on a poll question and phone calls. We'll check in with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers coming up in a little bit as well. And UCLA head football coach Chip Kelly. Back after this.
Fellas, today is National Be a Millionaire Day. I checked the calendar. I don't really know what that means. I looked at it, and the explanation doesn't really help. I guess it's trying to encourage you to be a millionaire as if you needed a day to do so. So I got to thinking, if I gave you the choice of two things, right? I guess in the current state of affairs that you're in, or maybe bring yourself back to your younger days. If I offered you $2 million tax-free, or a guarantee that you'd live to be at least 80 years old, which would you take? Who wants to go first?
Wait, Paulie, how old are you when you make this offer?
Let's say it's right now. Okay, so $2 million is a real big chunk of dough. That's life-changing. I was gonna go $1 million, but I'm doubling down.
Ooh.
So $2 million tax-free, and you roll the dice with whatever happens in your life.
Chiming in again, because $1 million when we were a kid was like a millionaire, but it's like that Dr. Evil joke in Austin Powers where $1 million doesn't mean what it used to.
Right. So that's
So
why
you
I
might have to
doubled.
go even higher. Okay, two tax.
$1 million means a hell of a lot of money to me right now. Just to be clear.
And see, I'm giving you two.
Dr. Stranger, not $1 million is a hell of a lot of money.
$2 million could be very helpful to the family, and you're not saying that you're going to die before 80.
No, you're
you
taking
could
your
possibly live
chance.
past 80 and have $2 million.
But you're guaranteed to live to at least 80 or more. Now, you don't die on your 80th birthday.
Oh, okay.
So you're signing up for $2 million tax-free, and you roll the dice.
One more question. Is it like an IRA where they tax you in retirement? It's a Roth IRA? Can you give me more specifics?
It's a bag of cash, and you could put it in the bank or keep it in your house. Or you live to be 80 plus. Guaranteed 80. The bottom is 80. Andrew,
So your family could be very comfortable financially, or you could be waddling around with your cane, possibly.
Todd, just answer the question. We don't need to know what you're doing with the money.
I'm going to take the $2 million.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah.
McLovin?
I got to go to 80. You can't take the $2 million. That's the wrong answer. 80.
Seton O'Connor.
Is the $2 million the wrong answer?
Seton,
I'm trying to find the reasons why.
The $2 million is the right answer.
What if you're 72 and God forbid you're senile?
Wait, you just told me you wanted to take care of your family.
So you give them the $2 million, and they don't need you around going, "Who are you again? I'm your son." Oh, that's right. You're wandering around, falling off the couch. They got to keep picking you up and feed you soup.
Seton, what's your
certain
pick?
age.
80 is the new 70, by the way, guys. Like we'll probably have two presidential candidates. in their
Andrew, you're
80s.
taking the cash?
No, I'm taking the 80.
All right.
Seton, what are you taking? The cash, right?
I think I'm taking the cash.
Paulie?
I'm taking the 80. I can make money. I can't guarantee 80.
I don't even know if I'm going to like what 80 is like, what it looks like and feels like.
I'm not saying 95. I'm saying 80.
Yeah.
You're in pretty good health.
I'm not.
I had a hard enough time getting to 42, and I didn't get $2 million. So
there it
Wait,
is.
when you get the $2 million, you die instantly. I'm still like, well, how long do you have?
No,
with the $2
you
million?
just $2 million.
Oh,
You don't know when you
roll the
die.
dice.
Roll the dice.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Just like you could live to 80 and become a billionaire. But
Yeah,
you don't know.
roll the dice. But also with inflation, huh?
Oh my God.
Oh boy.
We'll
see
if
what
I can pull out an inflation chart with a table.
How's the
right
dollar
here.
doing today?
Yeah. Probably not great.
$1 million Deutschmarks.
Was John Stockton dirty to you?
John Stockton was one of the toughest guys I ever played against. We had a series in the playoffs. It was our first series in Sacramento, and we were playing against Utah, great Karl Malone and Stockton, and I felt that our team was in awe of them. We were younger, and so I told Coach Alderman before the game, I said, on the first play of the game, I'm going to lay Stockton's ass out. And Coach said, "Are you sure?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Trust me, Coach. It's the first game. We just need to do it. They're prepared for everything that's coming. They don't expect it." I lay him out on the screen. I'm talking about I lay him out, one of the best screens I ever did. Got my shoulder kind of in that head area, too, to kind of make it a little dirty. He pops up off the ground pats me on the butt and says, "Nice screen." you know, do you know how demoralizing that is? You know what I mean? So yeah, he was one of the toughest guys, and I loved it too. After that game, we would play him in the playoffs, and I would make rookies wait on the bus, and I would say, "Watch the baddest man in the world pull up." And they're like, "What do you mean?" They think I'm going to talk about like his cars and all this. And John Stockton would come to the game, literally in a minivan, pop his kids out, come in there, and bust us up. So yeah, he's a bad man. Wherever he is right now, he's still a bad man.
And he would show up, and he would probably have a plaid shirt on and, jeans or something. His hair parted neatly on the side. He'd be so unassuming. He'd be a guy that they probably check his ID in other arenas.
Oh yeah, you either thought he was, coming straight out of Catholic church, one of the kids up there, lighting the candles, or you thought, yeah, he was the valet. You definitely didn't think he was as bad of a man as he was, but he knew that, and he knew that being unassuming was part of his swagger. So he knew that, and he used that to his advantage too.
Oh my God!
The play of the day.
Runner left side, got it! They're gonna play it and play it.
This is the play of the day. Check this out.
Ellie out of the corner for three, hit it! Mario Ellie with a three with 7.1 seconds to play. Timeout, Phoenix.
And look at him talk to the Phoenix bench. How wide open was Akeem Olajuwon on the play, though?
Mario Ellie, is that the stake through the heart?
25 years ago, Mario Ellie, the kiss of death shot that knocked the Suns out of the Western Conference semifinals. Rockets went on to beat the Magic in the finals that year, second consecutive title. That is our play of the day, brought to you by LegalZoom. No matter what happens, you want to make sure your loved ones are taken care of. That's why LegalZoom has made it easy to set up the right estate plan without leaving your home. Take care of your family today. The right estate plan at LegalZoom.com. Maddie in New York City joining us. Hi, Maddie.
Nice. All right. First time, long time, 6'1", 220. Beautiful. I got a quick one. Thanks again for what you and the Danettes are doing. I'm in New York, and, it's a little bleak over here, but we're getting through, and you keep me on a schedule, so that's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, real quick. So as a journalist, as you are, who would you rather interview right now and get to the bottom of? The pizza delivery guy or Deflategate, the deflator?
I would have the deflator on.
That's awesome.
Thank you, Matty. The deflator would be more interesting than the delivery guy. We could get the delivery guy on. I don't think I can get the deflator. That would be a little bit more interesting. We'll check in with the Buccaneers, speaking of Tom Brady, and it feels like the Patriot fans, at least some of them, or at least some of the media in Boston, turning on Tom Brady here, wondering about his commitment to the Patriots the two previous years, because he's all in and excited and working out with the Buccaneers, but where was he for those OTAs with the Patriots? Last I remember, didn't Tom talk about he was trying to not save his marriage, but he was trying to do the right thing for his wife with the OTAs, and that's why he was not there at OTAs. I think that's what he was saying. And
what's more important?
Well, you're right.
What's more important, your team or your family?
Yeah, well, I've had those
nice
discussions.
Commitment, Tom.
I've had those discussions at my house before. What's more important, ESPN or us? Give me a minute, hon, and I'll answer that one. You guys, of course, you guys. McLovin, what kind of poll question do we have today?
So on the topic of Tom Brady, which NFC South quarterback will throw the most TDs this year? I'll give you Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Matt Ryan, or Teddy Bridgewater.
I'm going to go Matt Ryan.
You feeling pretty good about that Falcons offense, huh?
Yeah, you got Julio Jones. That helps. But I would say Ryan. See, I don't know what Brees has. Thomas there. Brady's got a couple of weapons, certainly with Mike Evans. Teddy Bridgewater, it might be a little sparse there with Teddy, unless he's throwing a lot of little dump-off passes to Christian McCaffrey. Yeah, Paul.
Matt Ryan will give you 29 touchdowns in his sleep. I mean, that's pretty much the year. 28, 29 touchdowns, 11 picks. He's very consistent.
Yeah, I don't think Brady matches Jameis Winston did. Does he throw? He didn't throw for 5,000 yards this year, I don't think. He won't match the number of interceptions. I can guarantee that. Yeah, McClellan.
I got excited about Brady's weapons, though, because both those tight ends seems like a good match, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you got
They
Brady.
got to go. Wasn't
O.J.
Howard like on the trading block and going to leave or something?
That's what I think leading up to the draft or after the draft, they talked about is O.J. Howard just expendable. And maybe the Patriots would be interested in him. And I thought that maybe you were going to include O.J. Howard in the Rob Gronkowski transaction somehow, but that didn't happen. Which older quarterback throws the most touchdowns? Brady, Breeze, Roethlisberger, Phillip Rivers. I don't want to put Aaron Rodgers in there. I don't consider him old yet. He's close, but he's not old. Brady, Breeze, Ben. See where Ben got his hair cut, got his beard trimmed? All of a sudden, that was big news. There was some, it was brought up to the governor. They had a press conference. And I guess Ben showed up at the workout session at a high school in Pennsylvania, and he looked all clean cut. So he went to a barber shop, a local establishment that's not supposed to be operating in the area, the current phase of reopening amid the coronavirus pandemic. While speaking to reporters on Tuesday, the governor, Tom Wolf, criticized the 38-year-old signal caller. Now, once again, he was asked about Ben Roethlisberger, but I saw a headline where Pennsylvania governor slams Ben Roethlisberger. This is what the governor had to say. My concern is just a general concern. Anybody who puts himself or herself into harm's way is something that I think we have to try to avoid. When you go to something like a barbershop and you're not protected, I don't care who you are, the chances of that virus actually wreaking havoc on your life increases. I don't personally think any Pennsylvanian ought to take that chance. I certainly don't want to take that chance myself. That's not slamming Ben Roethlisberger. When he says, my concern is just a general concern, I don't think it's really focused on Ben Roethlisberger. Hey, Ben, don't do that again. Now, if Carson Wentz got his hair cut in the Allegheny County, then maybe he would have a problem with that. Yeah, Paul.
It appears the governor is an Eagles fan. Carson Wentz could have gotten a mani-pedi and he wouldn't have criticized him.
Apparently. Yeah, so I don't know if he slammed Ben Roethlisberger there, but hey, it got me to click, and that's what you want. Yeah, get me to click on that. What else do we have, McLovin?
By the way, can I put Ryan Fitzpatrick on that old quarterback poll? I love that one.
Sure, why not?
37?
Yeah, but how old is Aaron Rodgers?
You're right, 36.
36, yeah.
I'll double check that. I'm not sure.
But I don't think Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to start the season. I don't know if he's going to finish the season as the starting quarterback there. I like how he says he's Tua Tagovailoa's biggest fan. I don't know if he is his biggest fan, but it's nice that he welcomes Tua Tagovailoa before Tua takes his job. Is Tua's jersey the home and away the number one selling jersey right now? I think it is. I think it's home and road jerseys are the two top selling jerseys right now. We'll check in with the Buccaneers. More phone calls coming up. We'll settle on that poll question. And Chip Kelly, UCLA head coach, will join us in the final hour. Dan Patrick Show. David in Michigan. Hi, David. What do you have for me? Hey, bud.
Hey, my son called yesterday. I got him into the show this past year. He's a big fan.
Mm-hmm.
And he called me yesterday all excited that he got through and he did the best worst. And he's a college kid at Grand Valley. He's a Laker. So when he called me, I said, well, did you do the height weight?
Mm-hmm.
And I heard crickets. I'm like, oh, dude. So I think I would be shirking my fatherly duties if I didn't, say 5'11", meaty 165.
Well, David, you weren't a very good parent if you didn't prepare your son when he called in.
Dan, I tried. We all try. But my quick question, Dan, is what is the origin of the height weight thing?
All right. Thank you, David. I appreciate phone call, and I'll take your answer off the air. I think it was back in the early 2000s when I worked with Rob Dibble, a former reliever with the Cincinnati Reds, one of the nasty boys, and it felt like every day he would update the listeners on how much he weighed because he started lifting and he was putting on weight, and it felt like every day he would say, hey, I weighed 242. And then Phil the Show Killer, who ran sort of the show behind the scenes, hit a bell because I just said let's do something to remind Rob Dibble so he won't keep doing it every day. But even then, when we would hit the bell and it would ding, and he just would continue to tell you his height and weight. It never dawned on him that we were dinging the bell to remind him. It's like when you have a rubber band around your wrist when you smack it when you're trying to stop drinking or something. It's like a dog collar. I was trying to zap him a little bit there, but Dibbs is the one who came up with the height and weight bell. Yes, he.
And then somehow that morphed into Phil the Show Killer would sort of comment after somebody would call in and give like a 6'3", 350 and beefy
or fat. Yeah. Yeah. You don't do that though.
No, that was his bit.
Yeah, you just do the height and weight.
Yeah. But that was funny though. I can't believe we used to do that. Somebody would call in and he would go fat.
I know.
They'd call him fat.
Yeah.
Can't believe we used to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's wild.
Shaming. We don't do that.
No,
anymore.
we don't do that anymore.
But we do the height and weight. But that's a tribute to Rob Dibble. Buckle up, boys. Time to go to work.
the greatest basketball talent we've ever seen, and again, facing your hometown team in the NBA Finals tomorrow.
Yeah.
Please deliver this with 5 of your closest friends at your earliest convenience. Thank you. Good day.
It's not like Mike got on the phone and went, yeah, I'm in room 722 under Engelbert Humperdinck. 5 guys came, delivered a pizza, right? And I got sick from the pizza, right?
Broadcasting from the Mercedes Man Cave.
Okay.
This is Dan Patrick.
It's hour 2 on this Wednesday. Dan and the Danettes, Dan Patrick Show. Glad to have you on board. I think we settled on a poll question last hour, McLovin. Is that right?
Yes. Which older quarterback will throw the most TDs this year? We put up Breeze, Ben, Brady, and Rivers.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, what if they all end up exactly the same at like 34 touchdowns?
Yeah, I don't even know if you'll get that many out of Breeze. Ben, you could. I don't know what Ben normally averages. I mean, they're a passing team. Carolina's going to run the ball a lot with Christian McCaffrey, and even if they do throw, it's usually those dump-off passes to McCaffrey out of the backfield. But, you're talking about the oldest quarterback. You're not talking about the NFC South. Okay, so Teddy Bridgewater's not in there. But Brady, I don't even know what his numbers are. Like, I never look at Brady's stats. I've never looked at them. You know, the year that they had Randy Moss, that, of course, was, trumpeted. They didn't win the Super Bowl that year, but that was an incredible year for him. I just never looked at Brady's numbers and went, wow, or, oh, boy, that's disappointing. I usually look at touchdown to interception ratio because that's why Jameis Winston's no longer there. If Jameis Winston throws for 30 touchdowns and throws 5 interceptions and they go to the playoffs, are they all in on Jameis Winston? But when you throw 30 interceptions, and I don't know how many fumbles he had as well, he's turning the ball over probably more than 30 times more than Tom Brady did. You can't have that at that position. You can't have that disparity. Yeah, McLevin.
I'm seeing a wave of excitement about Big Ben now that he cut his hair. He looks like 5 years younger. So everyone's all saying, whoa, he's going to have a big season.
Okay.
I saw that on Twitter.
But this is what I don't understand. He's basically in the same shape as he was, even though he just cut off his beard and his hair. Because when you saw him, when he was throwing a couple of weeks ago, I went, wow, Ben, he's going to go 2 ways. He's going to be quarterback and nose tackle here for the Steelers. Wow. All right, 877-3DP show, email address dp@danpatrick.com, Twitter handle at DP. Spent a little time in the first hour talking about Michael Jordan, the feuds that he has with teammates, friends, and Horace Grant came out. Horace Grant won 3 titles with the Bulls, and then he went to Orlando. And Michael thought that Horace Grant was the snitch for Sam Smith's great book, The Jordan Rules. And whether it's true or not, Michael even bringing it up in the documentary. Understand this. Michael Jordan's not easy to like as a person. He's easy to love as a basketball player. As a teammate, okay, you're going to win. You're going to pay a little bit of a price there. But he is a brilliant basketball player, marketing, brand, global, all of those things. Keep in mind, Charles Barkley speaks out about Michael as an owner. They haven't spoken since. They were friends for over 20 years, maybe 25 years. Haven't spoken since then. Scottie Pippen did come out a couple of times and say he thinks LeBron, I'm paraphrasing, will be better than Michael when it's all said and done. There's Michael, feeling the slight there and probably not in Scottie Pippen's corner. Horace Grant, well, you're the snitch. You're going to be the snitch. You're always going to be the snitch. And I don't care what anybody says, you're the snitch. Michael Jordan, when he went into the Hall of Fame, didn't he call out his high school coach who cut him? He roasted everybody. This never ends. It doesn't stop. This is who Michael Jordan is, the person. But that's what helped him be Michael Jordan, the basketball player. Here is Horace Grant. He was on ESPN 1000 in Chicago, Cap and Company podcast, talking about just how much of The Last Dance was not true.
90% of it was, I don't know if I can say it on air, but BS in terms of the realness of it. As I stated the other day, that it wasn't real because a lot of things that he said to some of his teammates went back at him, but all of that was kind of edited out of the documentary, if you want to call it a documentary.
Now, Horace Grant has also said that Michael Jordan is a snitch because in the documentary, Jordan talks about his rookie year going to one of his teammates' hotel room. And he walks in and he sees women, weed, and cocaine. And he said basically the whole team was in there. Now, I looked at the roster. Maybe you looked at the roster and ran down the names. That would be a snitch because it has no context to be put into The Last Dance, the documentary. Even if he's asked about it. Hey, what was it like? Now, I loved it. It was salacious. It was interesting. Got a big chuckle out of Michael. But you talk about turning on your teammates, that they were in there partying. It has nothing to do with the last year. It has nothing to do with the dynasty. Nothing. Unless you say, well, Michael realized that he had to clean out the locker room there. Okay. We all know that because they weren't any good. But I understand what Horace Grant is saying. And I don't know if Horace Grant was the snitch. Horace Grant admits that he was friends with Sam Smith, still friends with Sam Smith. Sam's not going to tell you who the snitch is or source. And I've been told that there are a couple of sources on the Bulls. So if it's Horace, there's somebody else there too, from what I was told. I didn't get a name, but I certainly got an indication of who that person might be, whether that's true or not. But that, once again, just look at the flu game now, the food poisoning game and how that took off. And now we got the Pizza Hut guy who says it wasn't 5, there were 2 of us. Okay, wait a minute. You got eyewitnesses saying there were 5 that showed up there to deliver the pizza. Like, what is it? Trying to separate fact from fiction here it seems like it's fruitless here. Why did he go play baseball? What's the story behind that? His father was murdered. What's the story like, we don't take anything at face value. It doesn't feel like. But then you have these little windows here where you look in and go, well, is Michael telling the truth about this? Like, you didn't have to bring up the food poisoning. We were good with the flu. We didn't need it. And now we have food poisoning. And now you have, hey, everybody get their story straight. Okay, what is it? Okay, Michael didn't get to eat. He was mad. And we ordered a pizza. 5 guys show up. And they peek in, they just want to wave, and then that's it. And Michael spits on the pizza so nobody else gets sick, okay? That's our story. Okay. Good? Good. All right. So I don't know. Who's disproving that? But it's just part of this and the fact that, Horace has a problem with Michael. Remember, Horace says it's true. Michael said to the flight attendant, do not feed Horace Grant after a bad game. And Horace Grant said, that's true. But he said, make no mistake about this, I would have kicked Michael's ass back then. But you weren't allowed to back then. Horace has to be careful because he still works for the Bulls, I believe. And, the commissioner can't like this when you hear Horace saying, like he's threatening Jordan or feels like, hey, you want to settle this, we can settle this. This isn't what the commissioner wants out of this. Certainly not these times. But Horace Grant has his side of this, and so does Jordan. And Jordan usually wins all of these arguments here. But this isn't going away because it just feels like this is open season to talk about all of this. And when we do, it's hard to separate fact from fiction. Because I don't know. And I feel like I have really good sources on this with a lot of this stuff, and you can't get a straight answer. And as I told you guys yesterday, I was told that Jordan was staying in Park City, which people think, oh, my God, he wouldn't be staying all the way out there. It takes you 35 minutes to get to Park City. He was staying there. That's what I was told by 3 sources. That's where he was staying that night. I don't know what he was drinking. I don't know what he was eating. I don't know what he was smoking his cigar, whatever it is. I don't know. But it just feels like there's all of these different stories that surround Jordan. But that's always been the case. But people never talked about this. That's what should be emphasized. People were afraid to talk about this. Now it feels like with the documentary, hey, everybody's got a story. I'll tell you mine. Yes, Eden.
According to my sources, I was just told that in the mid to late 90s, Horace Grant actually owned a chain of pizza stores and pizza shops in the greater Salt Lake area. I don't know if it's true or not, but that's what my sources just told me.
Full circle.
Okay, we're going to go with that.
Celebrity journalist Flo Anthony, who claims to have spoken to a source with knowledge from someone close to Woods, says Tiger is struggling.
My source may have been someone in chat row, but they're
That's
no
okay.
less credible.
That's you
no
don't
less
have,
credible.
Hey, you don't have to tell me who your snitch is.
I don't know.
You don't have to tell me. Yes, McLovin.
I heard that the guys who delivered were both 6'9" and both looked like brothers, and their names were Harvey and Horace. I don't know if that's coincidence.
Full uniform.
Too far, yeah.
Yeah. And you could have worked on the delivery, too.
Nobody talks about Harvey Grant, by the way. I just want to bring that up.
Why would we talk about Harvey Grant? He played.
Who was better? Do you remember off the top of your head?
They were about the same. I mean, Horace was a good player, and he'd give you 12 and 8. He was a good defensive player. Harvey might have been a better scorer, but Harvey played for the Bullets. Yeah, Paul.
Yeah, Harvey Grant had a run where he averaged about 18 for 3 years straight with the Bullets. Nobody's breaking down Harvey Grant.
No, nobody is today.
Nobody.
I mentioned Jameis Winston with all of his turnovers. He had 30 interceptions, 5 lost fumbles, and Brady had 8 interceptions, 1 lost fumble. So you've got pretty sizable difference there on the number of turnovers. Nobody had more than 23 turnovers, total turnovers last year, other than Jameis Winston at 35. So that's why Tom Brady is there. If Jameis Winston throws for 30 and has 8 interceptions, he's probably still back in Tampa. Photos leaked yesterday of Brady leading a workout with his new Buccaneer teammates at a high school in Tampa. And I don't know if the NFL has any problems with this as long as they're following the safety guidelines. Florida's open for business. But it feels like there's a problem with Patriot fans, believe it or not. Patriot fans seeing Brady in an orange jersey made it real. Because you go, okay, Tom's not here. And then you see Tom in a Buccaneers uniform, and you're like, what? How did this happen? And there he is throwing to O.J. Howard and Mike Evans and Cameron Brate. So this is real. The NFL season is a long way away. But based on the leaked photos, Brady is serious about getting to work and turning this around because it's been a long time since my Buccaneers have been in the playoffs. Now, here is something that I found interesting. There is a narrative forming in New England that Brady checked out on the Patriots the last couple of years. Seeing him work out with the Buccaneers may have fired up New England fans. Here's something from WEEI.com's Ryan Hannibal. He writes, although some examples were not as big as others, Tom Brady changed in his final few years as a member of the Patriots. The biggest example was the lack of commitment to his teammates during the offseason. As for his final 2 seasons, he did not attend OTAs during the spring and only attended the 3 days of mandatory minicamp. Dun dun. Here it is.
Oh, my
Oh,
God.
come on, Seton. What do you want to say about your Patriot fans there?
My Patriots fans or the reporters?
Oh, well, aren't they the
that's
same?
Like the dumbest story I've ever heard in my entire life. He checked out the last couple of years. They were in the Super Bowl 4 of his last 5 years.
I know.
The year that he checked out after the Steelers game, they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, they
And
checked
he
out.
checked out on the team.
Imagine if he really cared. The Super Bowl wouldn't have been that close.
Yeah.
Yeah, McLovin.
Michael Jordan always attended minicamp. Just saying.
Jordan went to the Patriots OTAs. That's how dedicated he was. No, no. But, you know, the whole thing with Brady is he did say that he needed to, when he did this interview with Howard Stern, what was one of the headlines? Hey, I needed to spend time on my marriage. My wife said to me, hey, what about us? The season's over. What about us? And Brady was honest about that to say, I needed to stay at home to be a father and a husband. If that's checking out on your team, man, there's a pretty high bar that's set there. Yeah, see.
The funny thing about stories like this is that in like 5 years or however long you'll be talking about like Brady as a Hall of Famer. Well, I don't know. I'm already checked out those last couple of years. Like that stuff sticks in people's heads, and like I don't know. Was he a good Patriot? I don't know. He checked out those last couple of years. Don't forget about that.
May my quarterback have the dedication to Tom Brady. Let's put it that way. I don't know many who would have more dedication because it feels like that's all Brady thinks of is football. Working out in his backyard with his helmet on. Getting Gronk to come out of retirement. Oh, he didn't try to get Gronk to come out of retirement as a Patriot. Like, man. They're gone. They've moved on from Tom Brady. Jarrett Stidham better be pretty good. He better be pretty good here. All right, a couple of phone calls in here. Craig in Pennsylvania is back. Hi, Craig. What do you have for me?
Hey, Dan. How are you?
Good, bud. What do you have for me?
Good. I'm just wondering, you're talking about Jordan a lot, and, obviously him as a player was amazing. I grew up watching him, and it's awesome seeing the Last Dance and stuff like that. But how come he can't bring the competitiveness that he was as a player to the front office with Charlotte?
I brought that up on Monday, but he can't control it. He can make draft picks, but my thought was he hasn't been able to sign free agents. That to me is the surprising part of all of this. They made a run at Gordon Hayward. They lost out. He stayed in Utah back then. Other than that, they don't sign free agents. You would think Jordan, as your owner, you'd want to play with Jordan, right? That is not the case. And maybe you say, well, Charlotte's not a big market. Okay. I get it. Still, pretty good-sized town. You got major sports there, aside from the basketball team, but you don't have free agents who want to go play. And, Michael has not done well in drafting. If you look at some of his, and you could look at what they've done. When he was with Washington, if you're drafting Kwame Brown, that's a bust, dog. Adam Morrison, that's a bust, dog. Who's our guy from Wisconsin?
Frank Kaminsky?
Frank Kaminsky, bust.
Come on, he's giving you like 7 and 5.
He's not even on there anymore.
Oh, whatever.
Yeah.
Malik Monk?
I don't know. McLovin keeps waiting for Malik Monk to be good.
Michael Kidd-Gilchrist?
He had a cameo there of playing well.
Probably the best draft pick under the Jordan era in Charlotte is Kemba Walker.
Great pick. And then he's not there anymore. But, look, Michael as a player, you can't, there's nothing you say negative about Michael as a player. He did what you wanted him to do. Michael the person is really what's on trial here with a lot of these, members of the media or former teammates. That's what's on trial right now. And him as an owner, that's for Charles Barkley and him to figure it out one day. Maybe, if they ever do. But if Mike has a grudge, he holds the grudge. He squeezes the grudge. He puts a tourniquet on the grudge. It's not going away. Your Hall of Fame speech, and you're calling out Hall of Famers in the audience. Hall of Fame speech, you mentioned the coach who, cut you in high school. He doesn't let go of anything. And then the fact that he invents things. Maybe he invented Horace Grant as the snitch for the Jordan rules when Horace went to Orlando. You can't put it past him. Poor LeBradford Smith didn't do anything. And he created something out of nothing. So you can't say, well, Mike wouldn't do that because he would, because he did. Aaron in Tennessee, then we'll take a break there. Aaron, good morning. What do you have for me?
Hey, Dan, I was just listening to you talk about Kareem, and I was really excited because I make that argument all the time to my oldest son and his friends that, it really shouldn't be a LeBron-Jordan conversation. If anything, it should be a Kareem-Jordan conversation because, as you mentioned, Kareem has had an illustrious career. As far as the caller saying that he didn't face anybody, if you were to have a list of who are the top 10 centers of all time, Kareem faced almost all of them, whether they were in their prime or he was in his prime throughout his career, with the exception of, say, Shaq and, I don't know, George Mikan or somebody from before then. He's faced all those guys, and he's got as many MVPs as Jordan. He's got as many rings. He's obviously the all-time scorer, and he's in the top 2 or 3 in rebounds and blocks all time. So his accolades are as good, if not better, than the two that are always in the conversation.
Thank you, Aaron. But it doesn't fit in with what we want with our superstar now. You gotta be something special. You gotta be a celebrity. Kareem wasn't. Kareem was reticent, didn't like talking to the media, didn't trust the media, maybe shy. In fact, when we had him in studio a couple of years ago, like he came in and you could tell that he just was distant. And then he sat down, we started talking baseball and Jackie Robinson, and then he warmed up there. And I just don't forget about the players from yesteryear. That's all this is about. It's the same thing, LeBron, nobody's better than LeBron. And then you see Michael and you go, oh, okay. It took me a while to say LeBron was better than Larry Bird, but only because Larry at 31 was just as good as LeBron, if not better at the same age. LeBron has blown away and separated from Larry Bird because of how well he's taken care of himself, and he's still a dominating force, and here he is leading the league in assists. So it's just trying to look at who's great, how great they are, and you do comparisons, and that's always dangerous there. But I just like to mention some of these players, that they were great in their era. Maybe they don't match up numbers-wise or size-wise or speed-wise, but they were great in their own right. 22 after the hour, we check in on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers right after this. All right, Paulie, what do you have?
I have a 2-minute poll question for you before we talk some NBA.
Okay.
We have Twiddle in studio today. They're great. They're our friends. Let's say you had just won the big lottery and you have the big house party and you could afford to hire any band. This is a total hypothetical. You could hire any band all time to play your backyard, and you have to name the specific year of that band, like where they were at that juncture. Like for me, it would be the Beatles in the late 60s, like the 1968, 69 Beatles. I would hire them all to play my backyard.
I don't know if there is a second option on that. I mean, it is I think you got to take the Beatles out of the equation here.
Anyone else could pick them as well. It's less of a draft.
Yeah, Seed.
I would want to have Nirvana play my basement.
Just your basement?
Just my basement. Yeah, no, and like pack it in with all of my friends from that exact era, right? So all of me and my buddies from high school and all of our friends just packed into my basement in like a super loud, sweaty show that the police show up at and break up.
So 1993 Nirvana?
Oh my God, dude. I would absolutely.
Yes, McLevin.
Okay, I'm not going to be the Beatles hater, but the Beatles aren't a live band like that. They had the best music, but the Stones are the live band, or Hendrix or Zeppelin. Like the Beatles broke up by the time everybody was on tour. Like that's not the band you want in your backyard. You want the Stones. And
no, that's not the band you want in your backyard. That's the band I want.
There's not like great Beatles band concert moments. I mean, I feel like
if they were playing in my rec room, Helter Skelter, I'm having a good night. If John Lennon and I are sharing crab dip and he's playing back in the USSR, I'm having a good day.
But the Stones concerts are events like Altamont and that.
Well, that's not a good event.
No.
No.
But their stage show is crazy good though. I'm just saying the Beatles never did some of the stuff the Stones did. They had like gigantic things going on, or Pink Floyd, or something big.
Yes, see.
Was it the Beatles playing "Don't Let Me Down" that was up on the rooftop?
Yes,
that was awesome. They're wearing like fur coats and stuff, and the wind is blowing around. It looks like it's freezing out there, and they're absolutely slaying. I would love to have been there to see that moment. But that would have been awesome.
And then you two tried to recreate that when they were up on the building as well.
Like Rattle and Hum era.
All right, McLevin, who do you want in your backyard?
That, by the way, you two wouldn't be bad either. But I want Hendrix in 1968 when everybody's like coming to worship him in London. Remember, all the Beatles and the Stones are like, we can't play compared to this guy.
Yeah, that's when you had the graffiti that Clapton is God, and then all of a sudden they were introduced to Hendrix, and they went, on second thought. Yeah, Paulie.
Do you guys want to guess what Fritzy's pick will be? He could pick any band all time. I'm going to give you Hall & Oates or The Field.
No, I'd go Hall & Oates or Billy Joel.
Wow.
Good guess.
I was going to say turn back the clock to about 1984. Billy Joel's got the piano for a few songs, and then he throws it to Hall & Oates to play their best hit.
No. It's not. You got one pick.
Then I'm going to go Kiss on My List and Private Eyes, and you make
You're
my
going to go Hall & Oates.
Man-Eater.
Okay, all right. Well, as the only person in the man cave who has seen these bands in concert, like Zeppelin and the Stones,
Hall & Oates,
Hall & Oates. Actually, I watched John Fogerty. John Fogerty warmed up for Hall & Oates, if you want to call it that, and then I left after John Fogerty was done. And even though I appreciate Hall & Oates, Daryl Hall has got a wonderful voice, but I'd seen who I wanted to see in John Fogerty, famous from Creedence Clearwater Revival. I would do the Beatles just because the Beatles didn't do things like that. Like, they weren't on tour like that. They were studio musicians. That's what they did in that amount of time and those albums. Like, that can't be touched. You had an 8-year window where it was like Sandy Koufax. You could put Sandy Koufax and Pedro Martinez both in their 8-year window there, and they dominated that. They were just different than everybody else. I would go the Beatles. Zeppelin would be great to have them come back, but there's not John Bonham anymore. So I would say Zeppelin would be the second choice. Having seen the Stones, Zeppelin, Who, Bowie, I would go Beatles. That's just something unique. Hey, Chat Row, you wanted them, you got them. The all-new redesigned store at the dp.com, danpatrick.com, has the shirt made for you, by you, for you, plus a bunch of other new gear. Check it out, danpatrick.com. I was wondering how that story got out that Brady was going to hold this workout at a local high school, and I said to Paulie, Horace Grant's probably going to get blamed for this. All else fails, from now on, anything goes wrong, we just blame Horace Grant. I think that's the way to go about it. More phone calls coming up. Update the poll results. He's Rick Stroud, the Buccaneers reporter for the Tampa Bay Times, columnist who joins us on the program. Was that an official workout yesterday, Rick, by the Buccaneers?
No, it wasn't official, Dan. The backstory of that is that it was Operation Shoeless Joe Jackson, as you know, is what we called it. And I met my reporter and photographer. We put on the black jumpsuits and ski masks, and and then out of the Palmettos came Tom Brady. Now, it was just a good old-fashioned stakeout. I mean, it had been out there for a couple of weeks that they were working out at a local high school. It was just hard to get a vantage point, and so we knew when it was happening, and good for us. We got the pictures.
Is it legal? I mean, you're open. Florida's open for business, so this isn't an issue. Is this an issue with the NFL?
It doesn't seem to be, at least yesterday. I mean, here's the key, right? The state opened a little while ago, but if you listen to, I've known about it since before Mother's Day, and Cam Bright, who was interviewed by Alex Killorn on his doc one day, a lightning forward, said that he'd been working out with Brady for a couple of weeks. I mean, virtually. So who's to say, how long this has gone on? But I can document one day, and as far as that goes, the state was open, so they're good with it.
What's the reaction to Brady working out?
Well, I mean, I don't think people are surprised, but we haven't seen the guy other than reading stories about him going in parks and getting kicked out and walking into people's houses. So, first time we've actually seen him wearing a Buccaneers helmet, the old creamsicle non-contact jersey, and out there throwing to real Buccaneers players. So, I think people expected this, and watching him work, you can see just how precise he is, walking guys through routes, telling them exactly where he wants them to be. And it was a pretty well-organized practice for about 2 hours.
No Gronk sighting yet?
Not in practice anyway. I mean, I know, Gronk was in Florida. I think his mom lives in Fort Myers, but who's to say he could have been out there other days. This is not the first day, so we've not run across him just yet.
If I would have told you a year ago, you're going to be staking out of high school, Rick, and Tom Brady is going to be coming out in a Buccaneer helmet, you would have said what?
I just said, I'm done. They got rid of me because I was hallucinating. I mean, this just doesn't happen. Dan, we can't have nice things. And yet there he was, right? And so people are pretty fired up about it. I mean, this is a franchise that hasn't won or gotten in the playoffs in 12 years, 387 winning percentage. And yet he's going to try to do something that's hard. I mean, he's going to try to do something that Peyton Manning did in Denver. It's not easy. And he's got to learn a bunch of new teammates and a new offense. And I wouldn't get too ahead of ourselves because the New Orleans Saints are pretty good in this division.
Yeah, I'm just trying to handicap this. And of course, we've talked, and I said I'm all in on the Buccaneers. I was all in on them if Teddy Bridgewater went there. I thought they were going to be a playoff team. We know Brady can handle the pressure. I want to know about the other players on the team because now you're expected to do something. Not we hope you do something, we're expecting you. How different is that going to be for this young team?
Yeah, I think it's going to be really different. I mean, when you have an iconic quarterback, there's just not many of these guys around, right? And so the standard changes, right? If these guys were going to get up and go to the beach with their girlfriends instead of working out, well, now they're not going to do that. I mean, they found out just in the walkthroughs that he's had with them in the practices that it's a different level. And you're on national TV 5 times. That's happened here never. And so, I think that gets your attention as well. So they do have a good nucleus of football players. This was a team that was 7-7 at one point. The quarterback, we know, threw a lot of games away. Their defense got better. So they should have high expectations. They got the greatest quarterback of all time.
If Jameis Winston throws 30 touchdowns and he throws 8 interceptions, who's the quarterback for the Buccaneers this year?
We're not. I mean, I think it's Jameis Winston. I mean, I think you'd still, consider Brady and Phillip Rivers and all those guys. But at that point, that's what you hope for when you signed him, right? He was the number 1 overall pick. They would have been in the playoffs, number 1. They may have won a couple playoff games. So I don't think we're having that conversation. He's certainly not in New Orleans right now playing for $1 million. I can tell you that.
I'll leave you with this, Rick. If this season doesn't start on time, they're talking about maybe those first 4 weeks now go to the back end of the schedule. I'm just curious about the availability of the Super Bowl hotel rooms and all of that. At that time, like at the end of February, early March, is that going to be any issue there in Tampa hosting the Super Bowl?
Well, it could be. I talked to Rob Higgins, who's the head of the Super Bowl committee, and they're focused on the February 7th date. But look, they've got alternative dates. The problem is you can't go to those hotels right now and say, hey, keep this weekend open and that weekend open. If they have to move the schedule back, they'll deal with it then. But I'm sure that they've got a lot of partners here with hotels and restaurants that'll do everything they can to make those rooms available. And, they'll find a way to keep people fed and housed, I'm sure.
Are you going back to practice again with Brady, or is that just a one and done?
Well, from what I hear from the Bucs, it's a one and going someplace else, I guess. We'll get the next locale as soon as we get the Shoeless Joe Jackson source that tells us where it's at. But, yeah, they weren't too happy with that whole thing. But it was legal. Nobody was arrested.
All right. Thank you, Rick. That's Rick Stroud covers the Buccaneers for the Tampa Bay Times. Yeah, I was wondering about that. All of a sudden, Brady runs out, trots out, and you start to see some people, and you're probably like, you got to be kidding. This would never happen if I was with the Patriots here. I want to know when Gronk shows up. When Gronk shows up, then it's official there. Yeah, Paulie.
And the reporters, they were really in the shrubs. Like if I saw a shot from one of the local papers, and there's like a bunch of bushes and shrubs, and there's where they could go. They couldn't go onto the property, so they were in this like adjacent parking lot, and they're tiptoeing over shrubs to get pictures of Brady and his crew. And can you imagine being like a reporter and that's what you're doing now? It's fascinating.
Media coverage of the Buccaneers, Bush League, ? Sorry, Todd.
All right. That was workable.
Thank you, Todd.
I'm surprised that the coach that's been there for 13 years at that prep school, at least he said he had no idea that this practice. How could he not know, a guy that's been there almost a decade and a half, not know that Tom Brady and company are going to be on his field?
I'm going to guess it's a must-lie situation where you go, I didn't know anything. What? Tom Brady was out there?
The athletic director. I don't know what's going on.
I just love out of New England that the media already starting to turn this a little bit. Tom not dedicated. Man, I don't know how much dedication you need where this dude is all in and you go to Super Bowls, 4 of their last 5 years, and all of a sudden he's starting to slack off a little bit here.
It's 4 of their last 6.
Oh,
yeah.
6, I bet. My bad. 4 of the last. Oh, okay, then he did slack off a little bit, Seton.
Right.
4 of the
2
last.
years.
4 of
They
the
were
last
just
6.
not the last 2, but yeah.
Oh, Nick in Arizona. Hey, Nick, what do you have for me today?
Hey, DP, 6 feet, 200. Hey, so you guys earlier were talking about Ryan Fitzpatrick, and it had me laughing and thinking, who is the greatest backup quarterback of all time, and what even is the criteria for that?
Oh gosh, I don't know what the criteria would be. Frank Reich had probably the greatest. Well, no, Nick Foles won the Super Bowl. So does that make him? Is Nick McLovin there? You want to talk here? He's Super Bowl MVP. Is that?
I think you have to. Wait, wasn't there other backups like a Don Strock or somebody? Did they ever win the big game?
No.
Back in the day? No, they never won.
Well, didn't Earl Morrall?
Yes.
I think with the Dolphins. I think. I don't think it was it might have been the Colts, but I think Earl Morrall did the same thing. Wasn't there Bob Greasy, Earl Morrall, something like that? Yes, he.
And to be fair, that Eagles team beat a Patriots team with a checked-out Tom Brady.
Wow.
So they weren't even really trying in that game.
He didn't do much in that game, did he? I mean, how many yards did he throw?
750.
I think he only threw for 500 yards.
But he had a drop.
They didn't punt. I don't think they punted.
Yeah,
And
if
lost.
He had
And
practiced
lost.
harder, he would have caught that
Now,
pass.
I know
Seton.
that was.
How did they lose that game?
Every unathletic white guy was going, catch the ball, Tom, come on.
How did they lose that damn game?
I know. Belichick, defensive-minded coach, couldn't stop him. Yeah, McLovin.
I'd say, I mean, maybe I'm jumping ahead, but obviously one of the best backup quarterbacks in history is in Dallas right now.
Oh, Andrew Dalton
got
Jr.
red hair.
the third. Yeah, of course he is. What are his odds
Who played the drum?
What are his odds to win the MVP this year? If Jameis Winston's odds are the same as Christian McCaffrey, what's Andy Dalton's odds of winning the MVP? Because I'd like to know. Pablo in Colorado joins us. Hey, Pablo.
Hey, Dan. Pablo, Colorado, 6'2" and 230.
Okay.
Hey, DP, got a special request. My daughter's name is Jessica K. Mendoza, and she just graduated from Colorado State University in sports broadcasting. And as you could imagine, it's a really interesting time to be coming out of college and looking for work in this field. And I just would love for you to give her a word of encouragement here, Dan.
Is she there?
She's not, but I'm going to send her the podcast, my friend, unless you have a better idea.
All right. Well, I'll see if I can come up with something. But congratulations to you, too, as well, Pablo. Jessica, get ready for a long haul and get ready to hear the word no. But if you really want to do this, then you'll persevere because there's so many people who want to do this. And there is no direct route into this business. There are a lot of opportunities, but there's no direct, if you do this, then you get a job. It just doesn't work that way. And just because you have that degree, that doesn't mean that puts you higher up on the priority list. It's what you do as an intern. Volunteer for everything. Anything. Get your foot in the door. Once you're in the door, and the reason why I say this is just take what I have here. We have about 12 employees, I think, here. And that's everybody, technical people. The director we have, Dylan was getting us breakfast a couple of months ago. And that's what he would do. That was one of his main jobs is just getting breakfast. He was in the door, and now he is working with the big German, and he does graphics for the the telecast on YouTube. He doesn't have to get breakfast anymore. Tyler, the moderator, wasn't, he was doing things, odd jobs behind the scenes. Now he moderates Chat Row. So you have to be in the building to hear about these things, or people get to see your personality, your work ethic. That's really important nowadays. But volunteer. Don't have your hand out saying, I want to get paid. We have an intern, Rob. Rob has learned everything from shooting, using the camera, sound, even being a director if we need him. And he just volunteered. That's what you need to do because this business is so competitive and you have to do something that separates you from everybody else or as many people. It's a process of elimination. You're all here, and then what do you do that separates you from these people and then separates you from that next level? Those are the things. The guys that I have here, Seton, when he started out and where he is now, a big difference. McLovin just came up. He was blogging about the show, and then he became an on-air talent. If you make yourself irreplaceable, that's the important part. Or somebody says, I got to have you on the staff. Those are the really important things. And you're going to get down in the dumps. But don't allow yourself to get down in the dumps. Just understand we all heard the word no, or you're not good enough, or you need more experience. Keep in mind, also, my boss at ESPN said I'm just bleeping talent and didn't say the word bleep and said something else. So this is at the peak of my popularity at ESPN and SportsCenter, and I was told you're just bleeping talent. I was told by one of my bosses at ESPN, another one who said, you won't get another job if you leave ESPN. It's during contract talks. If you leave, you won't get another job. These are my bosses who say this. And this is where I'd already been successful. So you're going to need pep talks, and you're going to need people around you who can understand this and tell you that. Because don't give up if you really want to do this. Because that'll separate you from a lot of other people. All right, we'll take a break. More phone calls coming up. We'll check in with UCLA head coach Chip Kelly in the final hour of the show. Back after this. Who did you know was a Hall of Famer? When did you realize this? That you realized Glavine was a Hall of Famer or Maddox, the earliest? If I'm expressing that,
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I was with Tommy forever, and I'll be honest, I don't think he would say the same thing. When I joined Tommy in the Atlanta Braves, he lost 17 games, and I went, "This guy's the future." And I watched him grittingly pitch his way into the Hall of Fame with less than eye-popping stuff. This guy was a warrior on the mound. You couldn't tell if he was happy or sad, which really kind of made his stoic personality the reason why he always put his team in a chance to win. Now, Greg came in and set a standard that was just ridiculous, a 4-year period, 5-year period. I mean, you could say that based on those quick 4 years Cy Youngs, you were like, this guy's a Hall of Famer. Glavine, he was able to put together a Hall of Fame career based on his upbringing, based on the way that he went about his business. He didn't give in. He fed off the ego of the hitter, and he was relentless. And you wouldn't necessarily say that by looking at him, but he was relentless. And so the question would be probably Greg first, but Tom was not that far behind.
Give me a Maddox story we haven't heard, and not the towel one.
Well, I mean, for Greg, there's so many. I mean, he was one of those guys that, let me just put it this way, he had a locker mate, and it usually was a pitcher, and as brilliant as he was on the mound, as many warp theories that worked for him, the pitcher that was next to him in his locker either got released or traded within a year or two. So it was like he had a lot of information that worked for him, but not necessarily for everybody else. But he was a great teammate that shared a lot of his theories on trying to help you out. For Greg, he's a dork off the field. He's not the professor. He loves what he does as far as nobody knows who he is walking around the mall or the city that he lives in.
But he pranked guys all the time.
Yeah, he intentionally, played it off like, look, he's a bad interview and don't interview me, leave me alone type thing. He's calculated to the T. There's nobody you'll ever meet more calculated, whether it's a card game, a golf game, or pitching, than Greg was. And I'll tell you this, if you did something outside of the rules of what you were supposed to do, it ticked him off. If you played away in cards that you weren't supposed to, he would tell you why you were wrong and why you should have played it. Meanwhile, that person beats you, and he didn't like that. Same thing when a hitter would hit something that they weren't supposed to hit. So he had an interesting mind. He was a great teammate. We had a lot of fun. But it's funny how, because he was a great pitcher, everyone thought because he wore glasses, he was this professor and could answer every crossword puzzle, and he was a great golfer and all this. That's the stuff we'll have to live with. Going, yeah, right.
Were you there when he got excited on the mound?
Oh yeah,
that embarrassing moment.
Yeah, he look. If there was a rating, PG-13 doesn't even come close.
Okay, but he corked his batter. I mean, he was on the mound, and he was excited.
Yeah, I think that more happened when Mark Grace and the Chicago Cubs, when those two got together. But Greg was definitely one of those guys that.
But he got excited on the mound, John. How does that happen during a game that Maddox is actually noticeably excited?
Well, like I said, you can expect the unexpected with Greg, and I told you this before, and just in case you guys are ever in a place where you have rented a car and you're giving him a ride, don't do it. He will destroy your rent-a-car. So that's the tip of the day. Just tell him to get a cab or follow you, and that may not be a good idea because he will take the rear bumper off your rent-a-car if given enough time to follow you. At each light that you stop, he will bump you.
I know you got to get ready for TV. Hey, thanks for joining us, Johnny.
You got it.
All right, John Smoltz. Couple of phone calls in here. McLovin, update the poll results, please.
Which older quarterback will have the most touchdowns this season? It's a blowout. Drew Brees is killing Brady, Ben, and Rivers.
Yeah, but I don't know. How many did Brees throw for last year?
I saw 27, but he was out for a little while.
Okay. Oh, that's right. He missed 5 games.
He's not a huge touchdown guy, though. He's more of a yards guy.
In the last, this is probably, 5 years, Brady averages just under 2 touchdowns per game. Brees just over 2 touchdowns. Roethlisberger 1.9 and Rivers 1.8. So you'd expect Drew Brees having Michael Thomas there. But Brady's got some weapons. You got 2 good tight ends and you got 2 good wide receivers. When's the last time Brady threw for more than 30 touchdowns? Yeah, Paul.
The past 6 years, Brady's averaging about 30 touchdowns and 8 picks. That's pretty much average for him. Drew Brees is fascinating because 2014, 15, and 16, he led the league in yardage. Then his yardage went down. In the past 3 years, he's led the league in completion percentage. And his interceptions are way down.
Yeah. What's the I-team working on here?
I sent around a picture from last segment.
Oh, you did? Okay. Do you want to help me out with this?
There was some spotted in the background of one of our shots, one of our Zoom shots at home. If you look at the red circle on the top right.
In McLovin's apartment? Yeah, McLovin.
So Paulie said, hey, I just saw one of your kids come down. And I ran up. I thought they needed something in the break. And they're like, we didn't come down. They were sitting comfortably in their beds. And my wife sits by the stairs. She's like, no, nobody came down during the show. So this is freaking me out big time.
Wait, what happened?
I think there's a ghost in my apartment because it feels like that movie 3 Men and a Baby when they spot the ghost. That's what Paulie's photo looks like.
I saw a child sneak down live on behind McLovin, and I asked the bros in back to get a screen cap of it, but they're denying it. The kids are deniers.
Is there a child in the photo?
It looks like it, but there's no way they could have come down. I looked there, like their little virtual classroom.
Okay.
I don't know. Is my house haunted? Is the question.
Maybe your kids aren't telling you the truth here.
That's possible too.
Earl Morrall never won a Super Bowl as a starter. He did start Super Bowl III for the Colts. They lost to the Jets. Started most of the 1972 season for Miami. Bob Greasy came in at halftime of the AFC Championship game. Greasy was the quarterback in the Super Bowl that year when they went undefeated. He threw 11 passes in that Super Bowl. I don't know if that's the fewest passes thrown by a quarterback in the modern era in a Super Bowl. Yes, McLovin.
Does Tom Brady count as a backup then, in a way, early on? When he came in for Bledsoe that year,
Yeah.
that was kind of a backup.
Yeah.
But it's a little different though, right?
Kurt Warner was a back. Tom Brady's the greatest backup quarterback of all time. Yes, Eden.
Somebody sent in, I don't know if you said this already, but Jeff Hostetler.
When he came in for Phil Simms, yeah. Oh, no. Okay.
I know where this one's going.
Well, I brought up mock headlines yesterday, and Todd has mock headlines. What is the topic for mock headlines?
The topic is Brady quitting on the Patriots, ?
Well, I don't know how many people feel this way. I'm just going by what was said on WEI.com, where they had somebody who said, Ryan Hannibal, I believe his name is, said that the lack of commitment to his teammates during the offseason for his final 2 seasons, Brady didn't attend OTAs and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, okay.
TB, what the hell, Tom?
Didn't
Why'd you quit?
Stole my first one. What the 12?
Just sell out. Just sell out.
Just sell out.
Brady cheats on old team.
Whoa.
Oh, sorry.
Really upset about the what the 12. Back to the drawing board.
Bunge. Bleep. Instead of bungin, it's bunge. Yeah, you got it. Give me 2 of them that you think are decent here.
Okay. The Brady hunch. Some say Brady departed years ago.
Okay.
Tom Shell. Brady quit on team.
Tom Shell.
Tom Shell.
Give me the last one.
Buy or Giselle. You believe Brady cashed chips early?
All right, that's good. All right, that's fine.
What the Foxborough?
No.
Whoa, buddy. Whoa, buddy.
Fritzy is back.
After all those rings, Brady stops answering?
What the Belichick?
Bella checked out. There
Bella
you go.
checked out.
You just
There
helped
it
me
is.
out with that. That's an assist.
There we go.
All right.
Now we're getting it.
Yeah, all right. Todd is back. Not better than ever, but back.
Buy or Giselle.
Dave in Minnesota. Hey, Dave, what do you have for me?
Hey, Danettes. Best part of the Last Dance, I thought, was the video of Scottie Pippen in the locker room in Game 6 of '98. But serious question, as an actor, maybe you can settle the debate between LeBron and Michael and Kareem based on their acting abilities.
All right. I thought LeBron was really good with Trainwreck and Amy Schumer. I thought that was one of those roles where you went, wow, I didn't expect that. Kareem in Airplane, brilliantly played. So I would probably rank LeBron, Kareem, Michael as far as acting goes. Final hour coming up. Chip Kelly, UCLA Bruins head coach, will join us. More of your phone calls. Dan and the Danettes, Dan Patrick Show.
If Julia Roberts were an NFL quarterback, she would be... ... Chomp on that for a day and a half.
Let me see.
Around the horn.
Yeah, I know. Julia Roberts, well, now, I think she just turned 50.
Sort of a Carson Palmer type.
She kind of came out of nowhere with Mystic Pizza, like Tony Romo, out of Eastern Illinois. Kind of surprising.
Well, then where's Jennifer Aniston here? Like Aniston just turned. Is she 50?
Kind of Joe Flacco.
She's Joe Flacco? Is she an elite actress?
Is she an elite actress?
Who's Eli Manning is what I want to know.
These are all great questions.
And I'm guessing Meryl Streep is Brady. Right?
Oh, Montana maybe too.
Joe Montana, undefeated, never
Right.
tasted loss.
Yeah, but Meryl's lost.
You got to show me.
Yeah, she gets to a lot of Super Bowls. She doesn't win very often.
Really?
Yes. She's been nominated more than anybody. Oh, we're on to something.
A couple of missteps with the Ballad of Ricky Bobby or whatever that one was. Remember she played the country star?
That was terrible.
She was the
Ricky Star or
Ricky the
something.
Flash or something like
Was
that.
that with like Rick Springfield?
That wasn't a good look.
And that was Dennis Leary.
That's kind of her Deflategate.
Dennis Leary was like David Bowie in that movie, wasn't he?
Yeah,
Something like that. That didn't go well. Maybe like J-Law would be, Jennifer Lawrence would be like Garoppolo, maybe?
Right.
Maybe a little more. No, she's won an Academy Award.
Maybe Anne Hathaway? Sort of a Garoppolo type?
J-Lo was a backup dancer on Living Color. Didn't break out yet. Like Jimmy Garoppolo was a
No,
backup.
she's not a good actress.
She had a couple good movies.
J-Law or J-Lo?
J-Lo.
No,
Oh.
she's not an actress.
I thought she had a couple good movies.
Like Made in Manhattan? Maybe I saw that. With Ray Fiennes?
She's really good in Selena. I know that sounds weird, but she played Selena.
Wasn't she in the movie with George Clooney?
Yes.
Out of Time?
Out of Sight.
Out of Sight?
Out of Sight.
Yeah.
Was that Farrelly Brothers? That was a big director who did that.
This is really
Who is the
sad.
Kirk Cousins of actresses? Who's about to get paid? Is that like an Emma Watson type?
No.
That's not bad.
Yeah, but Emma Watson's not about to get paid.
Oh.
If she didn't get paid for Harry Potter, then she's not getting paid.
Oh, I meant Emma Stone, actually.
Oh, Emma
but-
Stone.
But Emma Stone's probably a little more highly regarded. Oh, I don't know. Kirk Cousins is about to be the highest paid player.
Who's Aaron Rodgers? Is Emma Stone Aaron Rodgers?
I like
Nicole
that.
Kidman?
Ooh, Nick Kidman.
She's a heavy hitter.
Yeah.
She gets to the Super Bowl here and there.
Yeah.
Rangy, a lot of moves.
Now, I like Emma Stone as Aaron Rodgers. Pretty much the young top of the game. Meryl Streep is Brady.
Wait, who did you just say?
I like Emma Stone as Aaron Rodgers.
No, who was
best.
the other one? Seton, you just said?
Nicole Kidman?
Nicole Kidman is Eli Manning?
Oh, that's an insult.
What? Hall of Famer?
You need an actress who's in 2 great movies and the
Yes.
rest of her career is
Yes.
average.
Wow. Cutthroat.
That somehow they managed to squeak by.
Buckle up, boys. Time to go to work.
Park City Pizza Hut. How can I help you?
Hello, Pizza Hut. It is me, Tim Grover, close personal friend and trainer of Michael Jordan, arch nemesis to your hometown Utah Jazz.
Do you want a pizza?
Oh, yes, right. That's why I called. It's for Michael Jeffrey Jordan, the greatest basketball talent we've ever seen. And again, facing your hometown team in the NBA Finals tomorrow.
Yeah.
Please deliver this with 5 of your closest friends at your earliest convenience. Thank you. Good day.
It's not like Mike got on the phone and went, yeah, I'm in room 722 under Engelbert Humperdinck. 5 guys came, delivered a pizza, right? And I got sick from the pizza, right?
Broadcasting from the Mercedes Man Cave.
Okay.
This is Dan Patrick.
Final hour on this Wednesday, Dan and the Danettes, Dan Patrick Show. Glad to have you on board. Chip Kelly, UCLA head coach, will join us coming up in about 20 minutes. I saw this story. Alex Bregman of the Astros has fired his agent over a LeBron James-backed sign-stealing docuseries. You got me with the headline there. The Athletic reported late last night that Alex Bregman, quote, felt angry and betrayed that his now former agent would allow a company with ties to LeBron James to cash in on this particular topic. So he was with Clutch Sports, and he decided that he was going to leave because they're now partnering with LeBron James. So his company, Clutch Sports, is creating this docuseries. The film, which is expected to be entitled Sign Language, will stream on Quibi, says it will give, quote, viewers an inside look at the Houston Astros sign-stealing scandal and its unprecedented fallouts, making it one of the most far-reaching cheating schemes in sports history. Alex Bregman is reportedly looking for a new agent. Wow. Yes, Astro apologist Fritzy.
So he canned his agent, basically.
Okay, trash can. All right. All right, decent. McLovin, poll question and results so far. Are we going to stay with that poll question for the final hour?
We can. So best, who have the most touchdowns for an older quarterback? Breeze 64%, then Brady second place at 19%.
Okay. A couple of football things here. I spoke to somebody in the medical community who's working with the NFL, and I wanted to know how many tests it would take for the NFL to come back. And I was given a rough estimate of around 60,000 tests. I don't know how many tests are going to be readily available. And I was told by my source that there is concern from the NFL of making sure that people who need to get tests can get tests, and then they're not going to football players. There's also this, that the NFL expects positive tests for the coronavirus. They expect it. Now the question is, what is the plan going to be after that? It's not going to surprise people that there's going to be positive cases that come up. But they need to identify them as quickly as possible to prevent the spread to other players, other participants. The other thing I found out yesterday was my source said that you're probably going to have a different face mask, that you might have visors that come down a little bit lower. The face mask itself might go down a little bit lower. And in the words of my source, this is a perfect cesspool to pass this virus on to somebody else. Football is the perfect cesspool to be able to do that. It's a petri dish here. And my source said they might lengthen the face mask, and it would be more of almost not medieval times, because that was my word to him. Like, you know, when you have the knights out there and they have these helmets on, but you're going to have more protection for your face. And maybe the visor is going to come down lower. More people have visors on, and then the face mask itself won't be as wide open. It will. Who was it that with the New York Giants who had that face mask? Was that McLovin? That was Justin Tuck. Yeah. You might have something where it's perforated, but they're not large holes, just to try to cut down on this. But that was what I found out yesterday afternoon. Yeah, Paul.
It does seem odd that they would have adjustments to the uniform and protecting the players from that if all players entered the game with a clean bill of health. Why would they need to do that? If all players are tested before kickoff and given a clean bill of health, why would you need to adjust the uniform?
I think
Unless it's for show.
I don't know. I'm just going by what I was told yesterday, but I think it's a great point that you bring up. If everybody is tested going in, your temperature is taken, and you're going to be taking these tests, periodically on a regular basis, then it would be surprising if somebody is going to test positive. I mean, even if you're asymptomatic, but this is what I was told yesterday. The NFL does expect positive tests at some point. Now, I don't know if it's during the season, leading up to the season, but that's what I was told yesterday. A lot has been made about the so-called Rooney Rule, and this has to do with giving minorities a chance to interview for jobs in the NFL, head coaching jobs, assistant jobs, and making it mandatory that you're going to interview minorities. And I don't want to be an authority on this because I'm in no position, being a older white male, to say, boy, that sounds like that's good to have that rule in place. Minorities speak about this. They're the authorities, not me. I can only tell you what I've asked about, and talking to a source yesterday, I said, is this going to be something where I'm going to give you some kind of incentive by improving a draft pick? A draft pick, is that reason enough to bring somebody in and hire them as a coach? And the source that I talked to said absolutely not. That's embarrassing that they would say, hey, we're going to bump you up 6 spots and if you hire a minority. And by the way, the NFL wisely tabled that. But I am in no position to say, boy, that sounds great. The only thing that I would want, and I said, I don't know if Eric Bieniemy is head coaching material, but I do know he deserves a chance to be a head coach in the NFL. He's the offensive coordinator for the Chiefs. He was offered a chance to go back to his alma mater at Colorado. But my thought was, why does he have to go back? Why can't he get a job in the NFL? I mean, if Matt Nagy gets the Bears job, why can't Eric Bieniemy get a job in the NFL? But the fact that he didn't get a job, if Eric Bieniemy is a head coach in the NFL, we're not talking about the Rooney Rule today. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't be. It just means we would not. When we find that there's a glaring omission, there's a problem with this, that's when it's talked about. And Eric Bieniemy didn't get a chance to be a head coach. There were opportunities. I mean, I look at the Giants. The Giants took a wide receivers coach from the Patriots in Joe Judge. Maybe he learned at the feet of Belichick and he'd be one of the assistants who's actually a decent coach leaving the Patriots. Maybe. Eric Bieniemy has proven himself as an offensive coordinator, the best offense in the NFL. It felt like the Giants took a safe route in hiring their head coach. Just my feeling. Don't know all the details there, but I think there's cronyism, there's favoritism. And when you talk about the Rooney Rule, it can work because Mike Tomlin talked his way into getting the head coaching job of the Steelers. But he needed to get the opportunity to interview for the job. And this is systemic. This isn't just one team or one candidate. You can go down the years, the decades in the NFL. Somebody's going to hire somebody that they like, that they want to socialize with, that they get along with, they could be friends with. I get all of that. But you have to get candidates and give them an opportunity here. Let them be coordinators. Not let them, but hire them as coordinators. Let them be coordinators in college. Let them be head coaches in college. And then maybe you get that opportunity in the pros. As Tony Dungy said, look, teams shouldn't get rewarded for doing the right thing. Are you going to hire somebody? Or, hey, if you interview minorities, we'll pump up your draft pick. We'll give you a little better draft pick. That's not the right answer here. Here's Eric Bieniemy, the Chiefs offensive coordinator, talking about the updated Rooney Rule.
There are plenty of candidates that are more than qualified. I think one thing that popped up was some coaches now, assistant coaches, are going to have an opportunity to interview. I think that's huge. I think that's huge across the board. Regardless of skin color, it doesn't make a difference, Now you get an opportunity to interview the best football coach for that particular position.
That's Eric Bieniemy, the Chiefs offensive coordinator. And I hope he gets the opportunity. I don't know if he's going to be successful. I don't know that much about him. I remember when he played at Colorado, but I don't know. There's a certain personality you have to have as a head coach, or that helps you as a head coach. Because an offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator, you go into your little world. The head coach has to deal with everything. And this isn't just, I mean, Charlie Weiss wasn't a head coach, in my opinion. Great offensive coordinator. Romeo Crennel, defensive coordinator. I didn't think he was a head coach. So it takes special qualities to be a head coach to deal with all the things you have to deal with. And that doesn't mean a coach is a good coordinator. But there are guys who are better at getting in front of the media, press conferences, dealing with drama, discipline. This isn't just, hey, I take care of my side of the ball. You got to be a coach in full when you're doing this, and not everybody's capable of doing that. But I hope that Eric Bieniemy gets that opportunity, because you won a Super Bowl. Like, if you can't get a job as an offensive coordinator coming off a Super Bowl year, that to me is surprising. And you can say, here's another thing, well, you can't interview when you're in the playoffs. So it hurts the people who are good at their jobs because you're not available to be interviewed. And they've modified that to a certain degree. But I hope Eric Bieniemy gets the chance. Maybe it's called the Bieniemy Rule instead of the Rooney Rule. But I do know that the Steelers owner wanted minorities to be interviewed, and that's how Mike Tomlin, because I think it was Russ Grimm who was getting that job with the Steelers. And Mike Tomlin came in and blew him away. And sometimes, unfortunately, that's what it takes for any candidate. Where you're going, you got to sell you better go in there. You got one shot, make it work here. Whereas it feels like other guys keep getting opportunities here. And maybe this changes. Let me see. What else do we have here? We mentioned a little bit of Horace Grant wants a piece of Michael Jordan. Horace and Mike are... Well, Horace isn't letting this go. He says he's not this snitch for the book, The Jordan Rules. Michael, no matter what Horace says, Michael believes it, and Michael is not going to budge off that. Once he makes up his mind, that's it. But Horace Grant gave us how much of The Last Dance he thought was truthful.
90% of it was, I don't know if I can say it on air, but BS. In terms of the realness of it, as I stated the other day, that it wasn't real, because a lot of things that he said to some of his teammates went back at him, but all of that was kind of edited out of the documentary, if you want to call it a documentary.
That's the part I love, if you want to call it a documentary. That one made me chuckle just a little bit. I saw this story. Jimmy Garoppolo's fullback has got his back. Who is this? Kyle Juszczyk?
Yeah. Yes, Harvard grad.
Yeah. He wants to know why Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't get enough respect. He says, I feel like I've been Jimmy's bodyguard this offseason, but I've never been tired of it. It's crazy to me that Jimmy doesn't get the respect he deserves for what a phenomenal season I think he had, the numbers that he put up, the way he led this team. Juszczyk said, he was no doubt our leader on offense. He brought us to a Super Bowl, and within 7 minutes of winning one. So for him not to get the respect I feel he deserves, it's pretty wild to me. I'm glad that he has his quarterbacks back. But I would say to him, if he was on the program, what about your coach and your general manager? They're the ones that admitted they flirted with Tom Brady. And maybe he was asked about that, but that'd be like, hey, Kyle, your coach and GM admitted that they flirted with Tom Brady. Oh, you don't have an answer for that. Yeah. That's what's interesting about this. Hey, nobody has his back. We almost won a Super Bowl. Yeah, you almost did. If not for Chris Jones making 2 great plays, Niners probably win a Super Bowl here. But your coach and your GM, and for a couple of days, I kept saying, why haven't they come out in support of Jimmy Garoppolo? because they were interested in Tom Brady. So if you want to have your quarterback's back, make sure you ask the GM and the coach about that, because that's where I would start before you blame anybody in the media. Start there. Yes, Todd?
There was that overthrow of Emmanuel Sanders that can't be overlooked. As convenient as his argument is, that was a pretty big play there. That could have made a big difference.
Well, it would have been. It would have been a touchdown. That would have won a Super Bowl.
But that's a lot of people jumped on that being the difference in the game, and that's conveniently left out in that argument there by his team.
You know what's left out? The Niners' defense was horrible. That's what's left out. Nobody brings up that. Hey, Garoppolo, he missed Emmanuel Sanders. Yeah, and your defense missed pretty much everybody in the second half of the game. You gave up 3 touchdowns, fourth quarter. So I'm not going to put all that on Jimmy Garoppolo. I'd start with the defense there. Yeah, McLovin.
That's not fair, though. The Chiefs did that to everybody.
Well, no, this is a vaunted Niners defense. Remember?
Yeah, that's true.
They told us how great they were. You got Richard Sherman. You got Bosa.
That D-line.
You got Bruckner. You got it all. We got it all here. We got a great defense. Okay. And then what happened? Hey, anybody seen Tyreek Hill? No! I'd put a little blame on the defense there. Just a little bit there. I'm going to take less blame off Garoppolo. I thought he was economically good in the first 3 quarters. Didn't have a great fourth quarter. But that's when you win these games. That's when greatness appears. And that's what made the Niners front office nervous. Because they've seen firsthand Tom Brady do this where he wins these games. And they're still concerned about Jimmy G with the Niners. They're not going to admit it publicly, but privately, yes. You can't go, well, on second thought, we have no concerns about Jimmy G. We're going to pass on Brady. We got no concerns here. All right, let's see. I know all Jimmy G does is win. Okay, he did. His stats weren't great when he won, but he did win. I just think they went all in and gave him a lot of money, and I don't know if he's a great quarterback. Yeah, McLovin.
He did go to mandatory mini camp in the spring.
Oh, he did.
Unlike some other quarterbacks.
And Brady didn't. Yeah. You got a good point there. All right, let me take a break. Phone calls coming up. And Chip Kelly, UCLA head coach, will join us right after this. 18 after the hour, this is the Dan Patrick Show. You're checking things all the time, your email, your Instagram. What about checking something important as your credit? Discover makes it quick and easy. Best of all, it's free. Absolutely free. Discover's now offering FICO credit scores, the score used by 90% of top lenders, and doing that for free, even if you're not a customer. Checking your score won't hurt your credit. You can check each month for changes. The Discover, that's the Discover, not Discover, credit scorecard, free for everyone. Learn more at discover.com/credit scorecard. Discover.com/credit scorecard. Limitations apply. We brought this up yesterday, the quarterback actress comparison. And I don't even know how I think I brought up Runaway Bride with Julia Roberts, and then we were trying to come up with which quarterback in the NFL is Julia Roberts. Meryl Streep was Tom Brady, greatest of all time. Who was Julia Roberts? Did we ever come up with a comparison for Julia Roberts? Do you have a list here, Paulie?
Yeah, one of the fans of our show, I got to get his name, but he spent his entire day yesterday doing this. He actually has it alphabetical order. He's got heights and weights. We could throw out a few. Here's one.
Okay.
Aaron Rodgers matches up to Kate Winslet, the consummate professional with a quiet, deeply personal life. Okay.
All right. Although Aaron getting a little more public, holding hands, Danica Patrick.
He had to go to the Daytona 500. That's not just
No, but they were down in Mexico on vacation.
Oh.
And they had pictures of them holding hands. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That'd be fun if they're out driving and he's driving and she's critiquing him. Because he can't say anything. You know, if he's like not driving well and they're out on a date.
You got another one for me? Quarterback actress?
Alex Smith, Sandra Bullock. can be the best in the game or a total disaster depending on the day and movie.
Wow.
Who's that more mean to?
When has Sandy been a disaster?
Oh, no.
I feel like Alex Smith is consistently good, never brilliant, never bad.
He was the MVP in late September of the league.
Yeah, well.
But he never has terrible games. They're both outstanding.
Well, he has average games.
Yeah. Just like Sandy, Hope Floats was a little average, Dan. I'm sorry. I know you loved it.
I don't remember watching Hope Floats.
Harry Connick Jr. and oh boy, I got something for you to do after the show.
No, I'm not going to watch that. Hope Floats. Sandy Bullock, though, I mean, come on. Miss Congeniality, even Miss Congeniality 2 was good. The Blind Side, Speed. Those are big time, that's good stuff there with Sandy Bullock. Yes, Paulie, what else?
Joe Flacco compares to Reese Witherspoon. Flashes of greatness, but can be average from time to time.
Now, once again, these aren't our comparisons.
Oh, one of our fans of the show.
Oh, okay. All right. Who is Eli Manning? Is Hillary Swank Eli Manning?
Ooh.
2 Academy Awards.
Yes. Eli Manning is Hillary Swank, multiple championship rings to the surprise of most.
And who's our boy who came up with this?
I got to get his name.
Yeah, get his name here.
Yeah, he's really well done.
Yeah, he spent a lot of...
I feel like his friends were making fun of him on on Twitter, too. We got to go find this dude.
Oh, then we definitely have to mention his name.
Yeah.
All right, some phone calls here. Justin in Chicago joins us. Hi, Justin. What do you have for me?
Yeah, I'm the guy that wrote the list. My girlfriend was really excited because she heard my name on television, so she frantically called into the show.
Oh, so Justin in Chicago is the one who came up with this list. You spent a lot of time on this list, Justin. Do you have a job?
I do. I spent about 45 minutes on it and not a minute less. I mean, probably I hope none of my employers are listening to the show, I guess, but, I don't regret it.
No, it's great. What's the best one?
The best one easily to me is Tyrod Taylor and Aubrey Plaza. Only because, now this is tricky because, see, most of them are like movies and things like that, but Aubrey Plaza is going strictly off the strength of Legion, which is kind of not that well known of a TV show right now, but she's doing incredible things and somebody just needs to figure out what to do with it. And I have a friend who's like a rabid Bills fan who actually owns a Peterman jersey but loves Tyrod Taylor, and they're just trying to figure out what to do with him.
What about Ben Roethlisberger? Who did you compare him to?
Ben Roethlisberger was Francis McDormand. It's described as
of course.
I finally pulled the list up. The stalwart go-to that goes to work and does the job every day. But that's also key because I believe Francis McDormand is from Monessen, Pennsylvania, if I remember correctly.
Justin, you killed it. We'll see if we can give you another assignment here sometime soon. But thanks for joining us.
I'm looking forward to it. I have some slow days at work, man, so whatever you got.
That's Justin in Chicago. Last name not needed here. Dan Patrick Show brought to you by Mercedes-AMG. Be prepared for whatever comes your way. The all-new GT 4-door coupe, because life is a race. Visit your local dealership for a test drive today. If you miss any interviews from the Mercedes-AMG Man Cave, go to the Dan Patrick Show app. Watch and listen from inside the Mercedes-AMG Man Cave. Mercedes-AMG Driving Performance. Head coach of the UCLA Bruins, Chip Kelly, on the program, and looking good there. Hair looks good, Coach.
Called the shower.
Oh, okay.
I went beard and let it all grow for about 4 or 5 weeks. And then I decided I got to get back into a routine, get up, take a shower every day. Don't wear the baseball hat, shave a little bit. And hopefully that will push us to getting back to some type of normalcy.
What do you know now about this upcoming season?
This is what I know. I know that the people who say don't know and the people who know don't say. So I think, we had a meeting with our chancellor yesterday and all the head coaches here, and he's extremely hopeful. But his quote, now I thought it was a great thing, is the North Star that will guide all of us is the health and safety of the students. And that has to be first and foremost. And it was funny when this first went down, and we had a staff meeting again at UCLA, and we were just in the stages of, we're not going to have any fans at the spring sports. It was the week they were getting ready. They canceled the NCAA basketball tournament, but it hadn't happened yet. I think it was that Wednesday. Things hadn't fallen yet. And our volleyball coach, John Sparrow, brought up a great point. He said, how many people here would get on a cruise ship right now?
Yeah.
And no one raised their hand. And he said, isn't a dorm just a cruise ship that doesn't float? And then we all kind of said that was the reality of what was going to hit, and that was 8 weeks ago. And I think we've had 8 weeks to work on testing. We've had 8 weeks to kind of go through this. All 50 states are in some version of reopening right now, but what happens over the next 8 weeks, I think, is really what's critical, especially to our sport. And really, we need to be back probably 8 weeks from now. We need to be back by July 20th or so if we're going to open the season on time. And so there's still plenty of time in there. It's just you got to defer to the experts in this. We're about first downs and stopping people, and have nothing to really understand what's going on in this. And as Lee Corso told me, I talked to Coach a couple of weeks ago, is the game of football is not worth one person's life. So we better make sure we got this right before we get back.
How much of a voice do your players have in this?
I think they have a voice. We talk to our guys. We're in meetings. We get 8 hours a week with them. And most of it, not all of it's spent on just X's and O's. I meet with our squad leaders. I was just texting with a bunch of them about what our next meeting is going to be like, and some of the questions that, we need to discuss, and then we'll present to the team. But I think they're a big voice because they're the ones that have to play, and they're the ones that this environment has to be safe. And it's the same thing when you listen to the professional sports, when you talk to the players, is they're the ones playing the game. And I think we really need to listen to them.
I'm looking at your travel schedule, Coach. What is your 2020 football schedule? I've got you traveling a total, if this happens, about almost 10,000 miles round trip. By comparison, Penn State would travel 4,400 miles. That's a big disparity there.
It is. And again, it's the geographics of the West Coast.
Yeah.
There's not as many states as there are on the East Coast. There's not that tight corridor like you guys are in. But our league goes from Washington to Arizona, and everything in between. And we also have a game at Hawaii. So you got to throw that in there. And that's a huge part of that. So in normal years, and by that I mean any other year besides this year, you didn't really think about the travel. But now you really have to think about the travel. And is there effects of that? And how does that work? And what's it like when you're on a plane? And how do you social distance on a plane? And there's so many layers to this. This isn't a black or white, an up or down, or a yes or no decision. It's like an onion. It has to be peeled and it's layered. And I think you have to really let the people that know it the best, and that's the scientists involved, kind of make a decision on kind of where we are with it. But there's a lot of things that go into it, Dan. And like you said.
I want to talk some football with you. And where do you think offense is in 5 years? What does offense look like?
I think there's a give and take between the NFL and the college game. Things go up and things go down. But I just think there's more passing that's happening at both levels. You look at the success LSU had with Joe Burrow and in the offense that Brady brought in from the Saints, and people, it's a copycat league, and this sport's always been a copycat league. And I've heard this statement, and I really believe it. If you weren't in the room with Amos Alonzo Stagg and the group that invented this game, then you stole your ideas from somebody. So there's not an original idea in football right now. People were running five wides shotgun. Dutch Myers did it in 1950. And then the game comes full circle. And the game of tempo, Sam Weish did it unbelievable in the NFL. The Buffalo Bills and the K-gun in the 90s. Then it took off in college game. But I think it's a little bit more wide open. I think because of the athletes and the width and length of the field, you have to use it all. And how do you use that is by spreading people out and throwing the football. But something will come cyclical, and there'll be a team that shows up that's just pounding the rock and running it down your throat, and then everybody will say that's it. But I think just what LSU did last year will lead, I think, a little bit more teams to kind of opening up their passing game.
Well, that's why when I saw the Titans, and their philosophy was that we're going to run, and then Ryan Tannehill will sprinkle in some passes, and we'll play good defense. I Right. I don't know if we get, it's counterintuitive to what is being successful now, but I don't know if the running back comes back in vogue.
It's tough because I think a lot of it is what's available. It's like economy, it's supply and demand. And a ton of guys are playing wideout, and not a lot of guys want to play running back anymore. I don't think, if you want to find a unicorn in the world, look for a fullback in this country. They don't have them. No one's playing with them. And where are they? So if you want to run that type of offense, what do you do and what are you looking for? And then I think there's something to be said about being the contrarian now is lining up in a couple tight ends and pounding the football on people because people aren't used to that. When I left college football in 2012 to go to the NFL, we were the only team that was spread out and had shiny helmets. And when I came back 2 years ago, everybody in college football does. And so, but it's an up and down thing, Dan. I mean, you look at what Stanford does. You look at us. We're a multiple tight end team just because we inherited a bunch when I got here, and it has been successful for us. But, when I talked, our tight end was drafted in the 3rd round this year. He's the 2nd tight end off the board, Devin Asiasi by the Patriots. And when Coach Belichick and Bill called me about him, he said there aren't a lot of tight ends out there. And I think a lot of guys that think they're that are tight ends are playing wide receiver. So it's interesting, and I think it's fun to watch the ebbs and flows of the game and where it goes. But we still are just trying to get a first down and try to get some points.
Well, it's like the big man in basketball. The big man when we were watching basketball was a true big man. Now he's a 7-footer shooting jumpers.
When I was in San Francisco, I watched one of the Warriors playoff games, and I saw Kevin Durant in person for the first time. Are you going to be kidding me? And he was just drilling threes left and right. And when you go back to the days of, in the old days, some coach would have told him, get your tail down in the paint, but the game has changed. I think the cool part with there's not a lot of television on when you watch The Last Dance and see where those shots were taken, and what a great elbow jumper Jordan had. No one takes an elbow jumper now because the analytics will tell you to back up 4 more feet, and that's worth 1 more point. So that game has changed, and I think because of the rules, and our game's the same, but I think it will. There's an ebb and flow to it.
We're talking to Chip Kelly, UCLA head football coach. Could you see a coach have the same kind of personality as Michael Jordan and that be successful in today's game?
I think if he wins, it's funny. If you don't talk a lot and you lose, you're aloof. And if you don't talk a lot and you win, you're stoic. So it really just depends. He's a hard, intense guy, and everybody loves playing for him. Why? Because you're winning. And it's that usually cures whatever personality that the coaching staff or the coach himself has.
How badly did Johnny Manziel break your heart?
I don't know if it broke our heart. We loved him. The unique thing about that recruiting experience was that we had Johnny and Marcus Mariota in the same camp. And we were the first to offer Marcus, and we were the first to offer Johnny as a quarterback. And they were both committed, but he was on. I'll give him credit. He was always honest. He wanted something closer to home. He wanted something. And when he got it and he got the opportunity from Coach Sherman at the time at A&M, he took it. But our fallback plan was pretty good.
Yeah. But how great was Manziel
he went on
in
to
high
win
school?
the Heisman also. So I think I thought he was phenomenal. I remember, and we were asked the question last year at Pac-12 Media Day, who's the best high school football player you saw? And that's a loaded question. But the one thing that flashed in my mind is there was a play when we were watching his highlight tape where he took off and went 90 yards for a touchdown. And they were called back for an illegal formation, and the ball backed up 5 yards. They ran the same exact play, and he went 95 for a touchdown. And it was almost like okay, we'll do this to you. But he was much what he did at A&M. If you ever go to YouTube, and I don't know if they're there, you watch some of his high school highlights, and they were phenomenal.
Yeah, but you know that improvisational skill doesn't work in the NFL, right?
Yeah, that's what everybody said until that guy in Baltimore showed up, or Mahomes showed up in Kansas City. But people have been doing it. Go back to the cyclical part of what we talked about in the ebb and flow of the game. And I've always have wondered when you look at some of the greats that played in the past is how good would Roger Staubach be?
I bring it up all the time, Coach.
Offenses.
I
do.
Yes.
Him and the other one that I always look at, and I never saw him play to see the highlights, would have been Sammy Baugh, who led the NFL in passing, punting, and interceptions in one season. I mean, you get some of those multi-athletic guys that can do a ton of things, and they would flourish. But Roger Staubach's the one that I think, I mean, him or Fran Tarkington back in the day and what he did, you know, that was what his whole game was. And you're talking about two Hall of Famers that would have been there's certain guys, and you know, Dan, that are generational players that could play in any type of system. Yeah, and most of the time, us as coaches will screw them up, you know.
Well, I just remember seeing Roger Staubach at Navy, and then he goes to the Cowboys, and keep in mind, he had his military commitment. So he comes in, and what was he, 29 when he got to the NFL? And I just found him to be, that was that dual threat where he was really he could beat you with his arm and beat you with his legs. And he was just a great, great athlete.
He was, and I was growing up during that era and loved guys like that. There was a guy, Bobby Douglas, at the Chicago Bears that was that running type quarterback. You know, here, when I grew up in New England, you know, you had Steve Grogan. I think he's the last quarterback to ever wear a horse collar. You know, I remember those days. He had the big old neck roll on the top.
Yes.
It was interesting. It was interesting. But as I said earlier, you know, I've had guys tell us when we invented the spread, which we didn't invent, we all learned it from other people, that people were running shotgun 5 wides in the 50s and winging it all over the places, the Bobby Lanes and the Dutch Myers of the world. So this game just keeps evolving. But it's so fun to watch those guys play because it's the unscripted plays that I think are the ones that we always go back to when we remember, you know, in the back of our minds.
And you're friends with Bill Belichick. Could you teach what Brady does?
No, well, I think you can teach a system to him, but the most amazing thing about Tom Brady to me is just his discipline as a human being. You know, he works out at our place in when he's in Los Angeles. And our place is open to NFL guys anytime after 11. And I think all the guys know that. So they'll come over and use our facility. Every time Tom wants to work out at our place, I'll get a text message from the night before. Chip, this is Tom Brady. I'm like, I have your number in my phone. Is it okay if I come over and work out? And he's there at 7 a.m. and he's working out with Tom House, his quarterback guy. And I remember just looking at him. It was, you know, last year was the middle of April. And he's working on his front foot plant. And there's a guy who's won 6 Super Bowl championships, and he's looking at his foot plant and his relationship to his elbow and his hip as it comes through, and getting feedback from Tom House, and then kind of trying to get in his mind what exactly that felt like. And you talk about someone that's that much of a stickler and that disciplined as a human being to be working on the little things. And I think those are the things that people don't see, you know, on Sundays. Just the work ethic and the time that he puts in. And so can you replicate that discipline? I don't know. There's very few people in the world that have that type of discipline.
It's great to catch up with you, Coach. Love talking football with you. Wish you the best here during these trying times, and thanks for joining us.
All right, Dan, hopefully when we are talking, it's about current football. We don't have to get back to the 50s and 40s. We could actually talk about being on the field. But I appreciate you guys taking time. You guys stay safe. That's
Chip Kelly, head UCLA football coach there. I just love, you know, when you talk to these guys who know so much about football and offense, and you know, Chip has been, I remember he was a defensive back, I think, at the University of New Hampshire, but he's been quite a few places. And he's right. When we look at these offenses, you're going, man, you created a new system here. Nobody's doing that. And if you go back, you know, Norm Van Brocklin, there's a lot of these guys, these quarterbacks, that they would wing it. There were coaches who were doing things back in the 50s, 60s, and these coaches today, remember that everybody borrows, they sample from everybody. And that's what's happening. I just don't know if we get to the point where an NBA team loads up on big men. I don't know if we have a football team that just says, this is who we are, we're a power running team. Teams do that. Seattle runs a lot. Colts run a lot. Titans run a lot. Some of it's by design. Some of it's because our quarterback is not great. Now, Seattle's got a great quarterback, and they still want to establish the run. Titans have a good quarterback, not a great one. They established the run. The Colts brought in Phillip Rivers to improve their passing game, which I think was 30th in the league last year. Yeah, Paulie.
I've always wondered if a college football team would go that route, a Wisconsin or a Nebraska, and go work on recruiting linemen and running backs and tight ends.
Well, Wisconsin does that.
They do, but they're not all committed. They're not like Navy and Army where it's 95% running. I always thought like if Nebraska went back to, let's just run it, and we're not passing anymore, and you don't have the personnel to keep up with us because you have 18 defensive backs on your roster.
I don't know if kids are going to want to go to those places.
Running backs would.
Well, but there's usually just one running back.
Yeah.
I mean, Nebraska always had a running back. Oklahoma had a running back in waiting. But, if you're going to be a boring, quote unquote, boring offense, are you going to be, if you're a quarterback, do you want to go there unless you get to run the football? That doesn't help your chances of playing in the NFL. I mean, it feels like these kids now go, where is the best place for me to go where I can go to the NFL? That's usually the feeling because everybody thinks that they can play in the NFL. But Wisconsin has big linemen and, Taylor rushed for 2,000 yards. But they're always getting Ron Dane. I mean, they're always getting a talented running back here. That's what I love what the Colts did. I love Pittman and I love Taylor. I think those are really that's a smart organization. I mean, they should be winning that division this year. All right, we'll take a break. Last call for phone calls. What we learned, what's in store tomorrow. We'll try to close up shop after this. Have you heard Paulie's Andrew Luck?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Okay.
Great. The Stanford Cardinal looking pretty good this year. Hopefully get back
again,
to
it's
shoulder.
funny. It's funny. It's not really dead on.
I can't do the face. I could just do the.
Yeah, I always say he looks like a cartoon version of Wolverine from the X-Men.
Big
like
fan
he
of
looks kind of scary, but also a stuffed animal at the same time.
Big fan of comic books my whole life.
But he's very close to Madden. That's the problem. He talks in here, and his teeth match up perfectly. So it's that difficult thing, and for me, it always turns into Madden. That was the same problem I had with Bill Walton. When I first started Bill Walton, the Madden is here, and then Bill Walton is, I remember being at Berkeley. How great is that? The existentialism. It could be a way. You look.
But have you ever tried to do LeBron?
No, and the younger guys are always harder to do, I think, because they're not characters yet. The athletes become when they get into like color analysis and stuff like that. Then you hear that's the easy thing for me.
Oh,
with
okay.
All the,
so you hear something different when you're
because
hearing Vitale.
Pacino at 25 is different than Pacino now. He used to be that guy way up. Why are these dogs surrounding me? Because your voice is so high, and now it's that Whoa! He suddenly became Southern, right? Now I have no idea how we even got here. So it's those.
But did De Niro change at all?
A little bit.
Oh, no, there you go. Back to Gruden.
Yeah, everybody's Gruden.
Gruden, De Niro, and George W.
Yeah. Everybody becomes. You see that part of it was the part of the thing I was talking about with John C. McGinley. There was that you have that intensity, and you find that part and what they're doing. And De Niro, I think, is pushing you in a lot of ways. He's just become that character, and he's always doing that.
Yeah.
I'm going to get somewhere. We're going to make this go long.
Our friends at Flannery Beef sent us over these amazing steaks. These guys were wet aged for 21 days. These guys were dry aged for 28 days. They are amazing. This is restaurant quality beef sent to your home. You can't get to a steakhouse, Flannery Beef's got you covered. We're really not gonna do very much with them. We're gonna hit them with some salt and pepper and right into a hot pan. We're just gonna sear them on both sides. We're gonna add some butter to the pan, let it melt. We're gonna baste them with butter, add a little bit of fresh thyme, fresh rosemary, and some garlic. Other than that, you're gonna let the steaks be the star. You wanna drop this guy in the pan away from you so you don't get the splatter all over yourself. A steak this size and nice and thick, it's gonna take you 5, 6, maybe 7 minutes per side, depending on how you like it. Look at that color. All right, now I'm gonna add some butter and some fresh herbs to this. I'm gonna get the rosemary and the thyme in there, add some fresh garlic, and really get some aromatics into these steaks. So the steaks are hot off the grill. You gotta let them rest, at least 10 minutes. You gotta let all the juices lock into the steak. You don't wanna cut steak too thin either. You want nice thick pieces. You want people to be able to taste the flavor in this thing. That's it.
You want something great? Treat yourself. Order Flannery Beef, FlanneryBeef.com. Promo code Dan, 20% off. Father's Day, any day, you want to grill out, can't go to a restaurant, comes right to your doorstep. FlanneryBeef.com. It's a fun show today. Frank Reich, the Colts. Chip Kelly, he's forgotten more football than I know. And Rick Stroud covering the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tomorrow on the program, Chris Collinsworth will stop by. NASCAR's Denny Hamlin will join us as well. We got a winner on Fritzy's scoreboard. It's Patrick in St. Paul, Minnesota. The numbers are 21 and 23. Let's do this day in sports history to see if we can ruin this surprise with Fritzy's scoreboard.
Dan, I don't have anything that good, but here's one that I never knew. This day in sports history, in 1922, Babe Ruth was suspended, actually returned to the Yankees lineup. He had been suspended in October of the previous year. Babe Ruth broke a rule about barnstorming, playing like almost like pickup baseball for pay.
Mm-hmm.
The new commissioner had a rule against it. Babe Ruth was coming off a season where he hit 378, hit 59 home runs, and drove in 171 runs. He was suspended for the first third of the next season because of this barnstorming thing. He didn't play in March or April, and he thought he would get away with it. He appealed, and the commissioner said, no, Babe Ruth, you got to sit out the first part of the season. Fans were complaining, Babe Ruth not in the lineup.
Well, he was also thinking about playing professional basketball at the time. He was going to leave baseball to go play basketball. He was going to do what Jordan, I'm joking. That was a joke there. I got McLovin thinking I'm serious there. Did I get
what an athlete?
Did I get Babe? No, Babe would not be playing basketball.
I looked at his stats in the past. I always assumed that he was injured for some reason. He played 110 games that year. In just 110 games after the suspension, Babe Ruth hit 315, 35 homers, 99 ribbies.
All right, Fritzy, the 21, 24, 23 numbers are...
The clue for 21 is whole lot of debate. Whole lot of debate.
Okay.
On May 20th, 1984, Roger Clemens gets his first career win, a 5-4 victory over the Twins.
All right.
That's number 21. For 23, my clue is a fifth of Beethoven. playing off of a genius type of person, a fifth of Beethoven.
All right.
And that would be May 20th, 1991. Michael Jordan named NBA MVP, his first of 5 such awards.
Wow. Patrick in St. Paul, Minnesota is your winner. Paul in Milwaukee joins us. Paul, what's on your mind?
Hi, Dan. First time, long time, 5'9", 160.
All right.
This goes back a few segments, but I just want to let you know that you're more than bleeping talented.
Oh,
I remember you.
Thank you, Paul. Thank
I remember years ago you did a segment on the Radio Milwaukee where you called in and instead of talking sports, you played DJ and you talked to the post on John Cougar's "I Need a Lover," which just has like a 4-minute intro. And the guys that were on the station were like, "Come on, talk about sports, Dan." But no, you're bleeping talented. In fact, you let one slip by for a T-shirt idea.
Okay.
Just blame Horace, or it's Horace's fault.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Paul. Yeah, I think that's the new motto here. Somebody does something wrong, we just blame Horace Grant. Seton O'Connor, you have something for us that you've been sitting on for a while.
Yeah, well, if you follow social media, especially, and obviously because of the pandemic, there's a lot of, graduations aren't happening right now. And it's a tough milestone to, a lot of people look forward to, walking across the stage, cap and gown, getting the diploma. And a lot of kids aren't doing that. So what people are doing is they're having virtual graduations, similar to for example, the governor of Mississippi. He just read a list of 2020 high school graduates, which I thought was really nice and really touching. And here's actually an example of him doing that.
Okay.
Gavin Christopher Davis, Grayson Dawes, Harry Ashcraft.
I'm sorry, wait, what was that third name?
Gavin Christopher Davis, Grayson Dawes, Harry Ashcraft.
Wow.
Harry Ascrack.
A lot of people didn't think that Harry Ascrack was going to get there, but he made it.
It's Harrison Jerome Ascrack III.
It could only have been better if he was valedictorian.
Oh.
Harry Ascrack.
Harry Ascrack.
Ascrack. Ascrack.
That's the governor. Somebody slipped that in on the governor.
I know. I think he followed that up by saying that whoever did this has a great opportunity, a future of writing for The Simpsons. I think that was his response. Harry Ascrack.
From a long line of Ascracks.
Ascrack.
Yeah.
Ascrack. Dickie in Iowa. Hi, Dickie.
Hey, Dan. 6'4" and a deceptive 270. I'd just like to weigh in on the backup quarterback question. Has anybody thrown out Doug Williams' name yet?
No, but that's a valid answer there. Good answer there. Yeah, I don't know who's the best backup quarterback of all time because Brady was a backup quarterback. Kurt Warner was a backup quarterback. Most quarterbacks are backup quarterbacks. Aaron Rodgers was a backup quarterback. Was Brett Favre? He was a backup. You can keep going down the list. Joe Montana was a backup quarterback for a while. Steve Young was a backup quarterback for a while. All right, let me see. Anything else? Final results of the poll question, McLevin.
Which older quarterback will throw the most TDs? Breeze runs away with it. Tom Brady second.
All right. Jeff in Detroit closes out our phone calls. Hi, Jeff.
What up, Doe? One time for chat. Listen, man, I just wanted to talk about this clown Ryan in New England real quick. First of all, the coaching staff tells Tom, we're going to restrict your leadership skills. Don't interact with the rookies. Next of all, he's never been paid what he's worth. The man never stopped winning. They got rid of him because they didn't want to pay him. 9-6, he's dumped into 9 Super Bowls and won 6 of them, and you say the man checked out on you? Clown, what is you smoking in New England?
Thank you, Jeff. Todd, what did you learn on today's program?
Coach Reich with the Colts, still an ordained minister, will be officiating a wedding this coming summer.
Yeah, he's got to do something with his background there, his backdrop behind him and Zoom. McLevin.
Chip Kelly says that Tom Brady texts him and says, "Hi, it's Tom Brady."
It does sound like what Tom Brady would do. Seton O'Connor Jr. III.
He's the pride of Mississippi, Harold
Ascrack. Paulie, what'd you learn?
Huge day for the Ascrack family yesterday.
What we learned, brought to you by LegalZoom. No matter what happens, you want to make sure your loved ones are taken care of. That's why LegalZoom has made it easy to set up the right estate plan without leaving your home. Take care of your family today with the right estate plan at LegalZoom.com. Been a lot of fun. Thanks for the phone calls, emails, tweets. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Dan and the Danettes, Dan Patrick Show.